Look who showed up.
What's going on,
Nice
guys?
of you to join us, Stevie.
Are we not going to have one tomorrow?
Oh yeah. Oh, I can't have an after dark tomorrow. We can have a during day tomorrow.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Just not an after dark.
CoCoTALK during day.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
You know,
both sides are just as depressing. So,
regarding OS 9, we really ought to do an episode about some of the OS 9 games, because there are several games that run.
Okay, the
only if it's co-hosted by Nick Marentes.
Yeah.
The only rule of After Dark is we don't talk about OS 9 on After Dark.
Great.
Yeah, we don't talk about Fight Club.
That's it. So, what's going on, guys? I think we're live.
Are we live?
Testes 1 2. Testes 1 2.
Are we live? Let me get a closer look here.
My name is Mark D. Overholzer. The D stands for Dandy. What's going on, Mark D?
Oh, he didn't have his headphones on.
Yeah, I didn't have my mic muted either.
So we had a...
First step is admitting that you have a problem.
Yeah. So how's the colonoscopy going there, Jason?
Well, I think there needs to be a change in the diet. Maybe a little less roughage.
Is this the at-home DIY colonoscopy kit?
Much cheaper that way.
Why go to the doctor when you can do it yourself?
That's right. Why leave to a trained professional what any idiot could do?
Plugs into your USB port in the privacy of your own home.
Hold this hose for me, will you?
Hooks up to any kitchen sink.
Okay.
So Stevie, it took a while. Did you get the hookers?
The hookers are here. That's what took me so long, yes.
Where'd you go for beer? Key West?
CoCoTALK.
Hold on. You can't hear it.
CoCoTALK After Dark.
Can you hear that?
What?
Yes.
The audience is deaf. Yeah, so I had a beer emergency. There was no beer in the house. And I went to go look for a thing that my wife likes too. What's that, James?
Those who fail to plan to fail.
I see. Yes.
Said
Yes.
the blind man.
Stevie is a planned failure.
Yes.
Oh,
And somehow I escaped Planned Parenthood at the same time. So,
I voted today.
did you vote today
Yeah, see that?
for Glenside?
yeah, he voted for Glenside late. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's over. Sorry.
But he felt good about himself.
Am I live on the Book of Face? Yes, we're live on Facebook too. We are live everywhere. We're streaming across the nation. So we're here. We're going to go ahead and kick off the show then with the official introduction right now, because we are here. It is CoCoTALK After Dark number 19. So let's kick this train wreck into high gear.
CoCoTALK After Dark. CoCoTALK After Dark.
That's right. We're back for another episode of CoCoTALK After Dark. I'm your host, Grant Leighty. Joined with us, as always, by Jimmy D. I don't know what the hell I'm saying here, but that doesn't matter. We're here. It's an After Dark. It's a very special, spontaneous After Dark on a Friday night. We don't do this very often. We usually do this late on a Saturday night. However, tomorrow night I'm going to a Halloween party, so I will not be able to do an After Dark tomorrow. We will have a regularly scheduled CoCoTALK, same CoCo time, same CoCo channel. And with us right now on the panel, we have our resident Apple II guy, sporting his shiny Apple II in the background, Mr. Mark D. Overholzer. How are you, Mark? Wearing his CoCoTALK After Dark shirt. Good for you, Mark. Good on you.
Of course. Glad to be here.
Welcome to the program. And then Hugo DeFort just chimed in on Facebook, says, so this is where people who are not drunk on a Friday night are congregating, huh? Yes, well, we're working on getting drunk. We have with us, as seen at PenFest 99 and 2000, at KorgsCon, Hamvention, at CoCo Fest 2018. The brother of Ken Reichert and maker of the switcheroo, Mr. Jason the CoCo Man Reichert is here with us. Yay!
Thank you for that smooth introduction. Ask your doctor if CoCoTALK After Dark is right for you.
CoCoTALK lasts for more than 4 hours. Please consult a physician. Now, Ron, are you back on Earth today? You don't see you in Mission Control.
Well, you see, I just went on Facebook for a minute. Okay,
Just a minute. Just a
and
minute.
I saw we're going to have a CoCoTALK. Scramble. And so the camera's over there. I didn't put on the stick, so I'm static today.
All right. So you're
I do
here.
have my cup.
You do have your CoCoTALK mug.
Yes.
Yes, it's gorgeous. That's gorgeous.
Yes, it is, absolutely.
We have us with us. We have us with us. I'm
many
only
have
working
you
on.
had, Steve?
Yes, I'm only working on my first beer right now. But
Oh boy.
Doesn't sound like it.
Are you mixing it with something else?
we have with us from South America, aka Miami, Mr. Barry Nelson's in the house. Barry, how are you?
Hey, Barry.
Barry's here.
I am desperately hunting for my unmute button, and there it is.
There you go.
Must
No
have been
big
that
deal.
4 martini lunch.
All right. We have from a train station near you, Mr. James Diffendaffer.
Yeah. Sure. Tell me you're having a CoCoTALK After Dark. I posted on Facebook, and what do? You start a half hour late.
Listen, I have to get beer. It would not be an After Dark. And you can't do the show sober.
I'm gonna need something stronger if I'm gonna have to sit here and talk to these guys by myself. Wait.
You could have hosted the show, James. You could have pressed a button and just went live.
From how? Yeah.
I have no idea.
Telekinesis.
Live
Yes.
from the wrong side of the tracks. It's CoCoTALK.
And last but not least, setting himself on fire, Richard Lorbieski. How are you?
Oh, just sitting here losing brain cells listening to this show.
You forget Barry.
Yeah, what else?
Yeah, no, I didn't forget Barry. I mentioned Barry. All right, so we literally have not planned this. I haven't spoken to any of you guys since last week for the most part. But so what's going on, everybody?
It's the end of the week. Yay.
It's been a very long
Friday,
week.
and we're such party animals. We're here.
Yes. I listened.
I was going to
Go ahead, Ron.
I was going to check Discord and see if anybody was on. You know, it's Friday
Yeah.
night. See if we're going to talk about what the show might have tomorrow.
Yeah, well, we can do that tonight.
But then,
I have.
It's Friday night. It just proves that we all have no social life.
Well, listen, I have an envelope. The envelope, please. This envelope came to me from a certain. Go ahead, James.
Was this stored under someone's back porch in a mason jar or some hermetically sealed or something?
Okay.
Does anyone else not see Stevie at the bottom, or is that just
Johnny Cars.
In this envelope, I have a sticker for a vehicle that says my other computer is a Tandy Radio Shack color computer. So Ron Delvaux sent me one of these today. Can you guys see it?
No.
God,
No,
you're
we
gonna
can't
make
see
me-
you at all.
You can't see
Yeah, there
me?
we go. We
There
see
you
you
go.
now.
It's kind of washed
Okay.
out there. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like-
My
So
other
that-
computer is a Tandy Radio Shack color computer.
Still got
it's
the heat.
big
spot.
enough to fit on your back window
It's
so
just
that
a-
everybody, wherever you live, will see it. If
And
this
now, does this go on the outside of the glass or the inside of the
Yeah,
glass?
what you do is you peel the back off,
Uh-huh.
stretch it nice and tight, and
That's
then,
what she said.
line it up and stick it and rub it.
That's what she said.
Peel the plastic off.
Definitely an After Dark show, isn't it?
Yes, it
It goes
is.
on the outside, right? And you should probably
Yes.
window down with some alcohol. Or
Clean
something.
it.
Well, you should clean it pretty good with some. You can use Windex.
That's what she said, too. So
I would think that would burn.
Gotta love the blue. By the way,
Uh,
Stevie, we can't see you. We can only see like lots of the chat on the side, and then like there's just 4 of us.
Well, how about
Richard Shane.
for starters, let me switch cameras.
All right, there we
Well,
go.
now
You're
it's
full
just
screen.
We see ya.
You see me full screen.
Switch
too
back.
much.
Yeah.
Switch back, please. Switch back.
There's too much.
Quickly.
See, there's
There,
a
there
reason.
we go.
There you go.
There's a
There.
reason why I have that icon of me.
By the way, this is the Blackjack and Hookers episode.
Blackjack and hookers. We should break out a deck.
So,
So
Steve, do you have a small car? This may take up 90% of the back window.
yeah, no, that's okay. Listen, it's important. You gotta have your priorities.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I saw you posted that on Facebook. Thought it looked cool.
Yeah.
So Barry Nelson,
Yes.
you posted something on Facebook recently
I do that
about
occasionally.
updating MAME for the Mac.
Yeah, I'm one of the Mac binary releases for MAME is a release that I maintain and update from time to time. It's usually on www.macmess.org, and it's gone through a few different iterations. So the current iteration of this, one of the new features that's going to be available on the CoCo 3 emulation is 32K cartridge support, which previously was not working.
Okay,
So-
these are the bank switch cartridges, and
No, these are not bank switched.
the fat binaries like the Arkanoid that would play both CoCo 2 and CoCo 3.
Well, yes, but not necessarily. They're not all fat cartridges. Rad Warrior is one of the 32K cartridges.
Oh,
It just sits in the upper 32K ROM area and disables the internal ROM, right?
Yep. So these cartridges, when they switch it, they're not bank switched. Well, I suppose sort of, but not in the way that a lot of bank switch cartridges work. So they don't have like multiple banks that switch in. Once the cartridge starts, it starts the code at the usual cartridge address, and then it sets a bit on the gimme chip, which changes the mapping for the cartridge port, so that instead of mapping 16K, it maps all upper 32K of the memory to the cartridge port.
okay.
So it's 32K linear rather than 32 banked in 8K chunks or whatever.
Yeah, and it starts when it starts executing. It starts with the top 16K mapped in, and then it toggles that bit on the gimme, and then it ends up with all 32K mapped into memory at the same time in the upper 32K of the computer.
Okay, so is this a feature that only works on the CoCo 3 and not on the CoCo 2?
Yes, these cartridges are only
Okay,
cartridges.
so these were CoCo 3 cartridges that they did work in real hardware. So the actual ROM cartridge itself was 32K of ROM, and for whatever reason, MAME in the CoCo 3 was not addressing those cartridge images properly.
Yeah, it did not support that.
Okay.
That switch to well, it did support the bit, but it didn't recognize the and mount the cartridges properly and map them into memory properly was what was happening.
So basically, they didn't finish the coding.
Okay. So now, was that fix was done by the MAME devs themselves, or is that something that you kind of hacked onto it?
I reported the bug some time ago,
Mm-hmm.
and submitted some code and some samples and worked with them, but I didn't actually develop the fix for that.
Okay. So this is an official fix that's been released, and you've just now created the Mac binary for it, so somebody doesn't have to build it from scratch.
Right, I backported that fix into my binary that I released periodically, and so that it would be one of the features that would be in the release.
Okay.
when I
All
made
right. Well, that's cool. Well, very cool. Thank you. All right. Well, that's good. Good night, folks.
I've actually got another feature I've been experimenting with in MAME, which is sort of neat. I found out that on this release of MAME that I'm working with, and it may work on one of the previous versions, that if you mount the floppy controller on a multi-pack, you can also go and you have the 4 cartridge ports that show up when you mount the multi-pack as well. So even though the floppy controller is mounted,
Oh, so technically it becomes a 5-pack.
So even though the floppy controller is mounted in slot 4, you also have a cartridge slot 4 that you can switch the ROM out in the floppy controller with another ROM. So I've got an RGB DOS ROM that is modified to work with MES or MAME, and I mounted that in its cart slot number 5, which is the 4th slot in the multi-pack. And so it's booting up with an alternate DOS.
So that's interesting.
So you can switch back and forth between the DOSes just by changing which cart?
Right. So, yeah, exactly. So you can run ADOS or JDOS or any of these other DOSes, which previously you would have to do all kinds of awkward hacking to, go in and unzip the ROM file and copy it to a folder and replace and rename the file and call it, I think it was rsdos11.rom or whatever it calls it. And it would complain that the CRC and SHA checksum did not match, and you'd have to tell it continue anyway, and then it would come up and you could run an alternate DOS that way. But this makes it much easier. You just go and you put the DOS ROM into one of these cartridge slots.
Right.
It overrides the cartridge. It overrides the ROM that's normally on the floppy controller.
That's cool. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Who just joined us? D. Bruce Morris here. And by the way, I'm eating Halloween candy. I got a big bag of leftover candy, or like hand-me-down candy that my kids don't want. Mm-hmm. I did.
You have your kids gave you pity candy?
No, it was really this crap they didn't want. It wasn't. There was no pity at all. It's just basically we don't want it, so you can have our trash.
So it's like the stapled corn. Wax bags of candy corn. Then
what are those little tarts?
Yeah, the Smarties. I just had some of those.
Smarties.
Any Necco wafers?
I actually like those.
What other awful candy can we think of?
The peanut butter kisses.
Those pink peanuts that are about.
Oh, I hate those.
Oh God, my grandmother used to have a bowl of them. We'd come over to the house and she goes, "Go ahead, have some."
Butterscotch.
Well, I like butterscotch too. Hey, Curtis is asking, does the latest MAME fix the problem with the dual displays on the CoCo 3 where it fires up RGB and composite at the same time?
Somebody had a fix for that.
It does not. It sort of does and sort of doesn't. When I distribute my binary, I distribute it along with some default configurations in the config folder. And so when you fire up mine, it already has the config set to turn off one of the displays by default and just shows you a single display on the CoCo 3. So
that's a default configuration issue.
Yeah, so basically I just, I have the config file is present there I don't just give you the main binary. It's actually a bunch of folders and all kinds of other stuff that makes it, setting up and configuring it a lot easier. And in those folders, I have some preset configurations for a bunch of the systems to make them easy to work with.
I'm just curious real quick. Sorry, I got to interrupt you. There's a guy in Facebook right now named Christopher Parker. I used to have a student named Christopher Parker. I don't know if this is the same guy. I don't know if this is Chris P. or not from my class back in like 2001 or if it's just a coincidence. Christopher Parker. Are you the same Chris P. who was in my class at the academy back in 2001? Or are you just another Christopher Parker?
We're at it, does he know Peter Parker?
Do you know Peter Parker? Yeah. But he says, the trick is to raise your kids to hate Snickers and Kit Kats. And actually the bag I got, it's good. These are good. These are good hand-me-downs. I'm going to show you the full screen here. I mean, I got, and this is my bag. And this is what's left because I've been like chomping on this crap here. I got a giant Walmart bag full of crap. I got
Candy Talk After Dark.
Yeah, I got Tootsie Rolls in here. I got a whole bunch of frickin' Milky Ways, 100 Grand bars, Tootsie Rolls, Milky Ways, Nerds.
If your diabetic coma lasts more than 4 hours.
Steve, I'm going to put you on notice. You keep talking about non-CoCo related stuff. I'm going to start talking about OS 9.
Hey, listen, I got a mute button with your name on it.
There's lots of CoCo in that.
Here's some more. I got some more non-CoCo stuff here. I got an NES cartridge.
Ooh, the Hogan's Alley with does that have
I picked that up at CordsCom.
I just got done restoring an NES to running condition, actually, and I got a super cart with a bunch of, basically all the games on it.
bunch of Milky Ways, a bunch of Laffy Taffies, a bunch of frickin' Twizzlers and frickin' Laffy Taffies and Jolly Ranchers, Lollipops, Tootsie Rolls. This is a good hand-me-down bag, I ain't gonna lie. Nice collection.
Twizzlers. Oh, I thought it was going to be like all that chalky garbage nobody likes.
Yeah, no, this isn't a bag of shame by any means. These are some pretty good rate hand.
I don't know. I thought I saw some Rolaids in there.
Tums.
They give you the candy bars with all the needles and razor blades.
No, it's the bag of we want something later, and we're just.
What is that? A wet wipe? Oh, and acid. Yeah, right.
Did that come out of your wallet?
No, it did not. But it was in my pocket.
Rolaids, right? And Tums.
Yeah,
Tums.
And then
It's like
acid.
the type you get out of the first aid kit at work.
Exactly. That's that's exactly where it came from.
You probably
So
have
I
the
mentioned
green
that I had swapped out the disc controller ROM, and the ROM I particularly swapped it out with, by the way, was the RGB DOS, which is the same as HDB DOS.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a hard drive image, and in addition to having the obligatory OS 9 partition, I've also got 255 floppy partitions for BASIC sitting on there. So now when I start up this CoCo emulation on MAME, on the CoCo 3, I can do dir space 253. I've got a drive image sitting there. I've got a drive image sitting there with hundreds of floppy images with tons of games and all kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I can sit here and mount and unmount floppies to get to all of these different games that are on there.
Yeah, Ron Klein added something similar to the CoCo Pi image, so we can boot up an RGB DOS and switch between 255 floppies full of stuff. It's interesting, but it's way too complicated for me. I'd rather just do the CoCo SDC and scroll to the game I want to play than having to sift through 200 floppies and figure out what's on them.
The CoCo SDC is a wonderful system.
Oh, yeah.
If I knew that I was going to have candy for this, I have alcohol, but no candy. I'm so ill prepared.
Barry, you were mentioned on this month's CoCo Crew podcast, they were mentioning how you distributed the MS-DOS bootable floppy that would run Jeff Vazasor's CoCo 3 emulator 512K.
Yeah, I managed to figure out how to build that thing after losing some hair and pulling some hair out, etc., and experimenting. I figured out how to build a boot floppy that would actually go in with and run in DOSBox and load the real EMM 386 that it needed to get the 512K working on that. It's a useful thing, I suppose. I actually find, that emulator is nice. It has some nice user-friendly features, but the problem is now you have to run the emulator under an emulator. So
yeah, that's the odd part. Yeah, that's the part I've never understood. I know a lot of people have mentioned that they've had to run DOSBox or virtual. What the hell is that other one called? The Oracle one now that. Anyways, VirtualBox. Yeah, so people have had to run different virtual things just to run. They've had to run an emulator to run an emulator, which, it is what it is. So, but I think it was what was his name from Glenside, who was wanting to do this for historical purposes. Not Carlos Camacho, but the can't think of his name right now.
Carmelis Blockhead or whatever.
No. It's the guy who does the artwork. The guy who did the artwork for Glenside this year. Not Rondo.
Salvador Garcia.
Salvador Garcia. Yes. So Salvador Garcia is the one who mentioned it, saying, "Yeah, I'd like to know how to get DOSBox working to run Jeff Vasasaur's emulator, and we were asking why, and he's like, he just wants to do it for like historical purposes, just to run that emulator. So unfortunately, we're at a time now where you have to run an emulator to run that emulator because we're no longer in the days of real DOS. So it's a necessary evil. It's not just overindulgence.
Jeff Vasasaur's emulator does have a nice user interface once you get it up and running.
I've never seen it,
and it does. It does do a very good job of emulating a Color Computer 3.
Really? I've had it, and I thought I paid for it back in the day, and I thought it was absolutely terrible. The CoCo 2 emulator was great, but the CoCo 3 emulator I was sadly disappointed with.
Were you disappointed with the speed?
It was speed. There was a lot of the machine language stuff it wouldn't run. I was really disappointed that I'd paid for it, unless there was something that came out later.
I've never had a problem getting it to run machine language code.
Your mileage may vary, but I mean, this has been, 18, 19 years ago.
Is this a really early release or something, maybe?
Well, I've been through so many PCs since then, it's hard to tell, but I remember the CoCo 2 emulator was shareware, and then, you can get the CoCo 3 emulator, and I paid for it, and it was terrible.
It sounds like,
as far as what version it was, that was a very long time ago, but I at that point I gave up on it.
I paid for it also, and the early releases of it had, how should I say, issues. But
there wasn't issues. It was absolutely terrible.
Yeah, but then it gradually improved, and it reached a point where it was actually pretty stable. And that's the one that I'm currently running, and it runs. I find it to run pretty well. And on these days, on a machine, that you're running DOSBox on, it's got more than enough CPU horsepower, of course, to run the machine at a CoCo 3 at more than full speed if you want it to. Yeah. So I actually find it to be a useful emulator.
Well, I mean, it was made so long ago. Is it because even VCC, which was made years later, has issues with 6809 compatibility, 6309 compatibility. So VCC, which is a newer product, is still got issues as far as rock solid hardware level compatibility. This is older than VCC, so can it be as good as VCC, for example?
It runs at least, if not better than VCC as far as running stuff and compatibility is concerned.
Bubble Yum stick.
So
Bubble Yum stick.
Oh, piece of candy.
It does not. I don't think it does 6309. I think it just does 6809.
Right.
But yeah, as far as stability, the release that I have, which is the last release that was released, it seems to run. I haven't found anything really that doesn't run.
Is it completely free now? Can you get the latest stable release for free, or do you technically still have to pay for it?
I believe they did release it for free finally, yes, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
Mine has my registration code on it, so.
Okay. Carl Daughtry earlier was mentioning he got his CoCo SDC up and running. Good job, Carl. Glad to hear it. Welcome to the CoCo SDC family.
Indeed.
Curtis Boyle says VCC has multiple issues. Even palettes don't always work, regardless of 6809 or 6309. With VCC is notorious for having gimme issues and other things, and we can nitpick on the artifacts not being the right tones either. But
for anybody listening, we should clarify that if you go and run VCC and you run some game software for the CoCo, over 99 or 90 some odd % of anything you try is going to work. When we say it has issues, we're really nitpicking that there's certain things that you can do that will show that the emulation is not accurate and does not behave the same way as the hardware. But most of the stuff that you will run, if you want to play games on a color computer, you've got a Windows machine, VCC is definitely a viable option, and most everything you try is going to work correctly.
Fair enough.
Well, now here's the funny part. I still have a lot of my PC floppies, and in the closet there, and I found one here labeled CoCo 2 emulator. It's kind of hard to see on camera there, but I actually did find another one here. It says CoCo 3 emulator. So I just need to pop that in a DOS machine and see which version it is. But I have that was in there we go. There's 3.
And now, did they boot up with the GUI, or were they still kind of like TUI based?
I think there was some type of interface. I don't remember if it was point and click, but I actually have a Zenith data system. Oh, it's right here actually. I have an old Zenith Data Systems laptop, and I believe it does have DOS on it.
Now you're just bragging.
Oh well, I bought it at a Hamvention many years ago. And I got it with the purpose of repurposing some of the older Motorola two-way radios that you needed an older computer for. But there she blows. I think it's like the hookers aren't ready till 10 o'clock. So 75 megahertz I see here. 75 megahertz, 16 meg of RAM, 814 HD. It looks like it says. I can't quite read the. I don't know. 777. It says on the sticker. There's conflicting reports on this, but I'm sure the battery's no good, but I don't think it ever was when I had it. But
yeah, that's a handy little machine.
And it does have a floppy disk. I think there's actually an option I can remove. Can I remove? I can remove something. I think I can remove like the floppy disk or something and plug the power supply directly.
Oh, like it's a module. Like some of them had modules where you could pull out a floppy drive to add more battery capacity and things like that. So
I think I can actually pull out the power supply.
I have a Toshiba from the early 90s. You can put in either the CD internal or the floppy internal and then the external.
Yeah. Like interchangeable media base, right?
So I just posted a URL into the chat window, and I found at this URL Jeff Vavasur's CoCo 3 emulator and a bunch of his other emulators still online and available for download.
Okay.
So,
I have this I have this urging to break out my punch cards now.
Yeah.
So
punch cards. All right.
Here, it seemed, and I just clicked on it, and it didn't ask me for any money or any, and it's letting me download the CoCo 3 version of his emulator for free.
I'll post it.
There's the power supply.
So there is. I'm pretty sure that's probably the most recent version. There it is, available on the web, and it runs quite happily under DOSBox. And as far as being a viable emulator, the last version that I'm running seems to be quite usable and quite stable, especially in our modern machines with the processing power that we have now.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm looking at the info on this, and it just says it's freeware now, so doesn't require registration.
So anybody wanting to run Jeff Vazosaurus emulator for a slice of, so this is the funny part now. The emulator that emulates the CoCo is already a vintage system. But now the CoCo emulator, because of its age, is fairly vintage itself, because we're having to emulate the thing to run the emulator to emulate the vintage system. So
now, I actually find that this emulator is pretty stable and pretty usable. The user interface for a DOS program is fairly nice. So it is a viable alternative for somebody that wants to emulate a color computer. As far as
I think we can split hairs on viable alternative. I would say it's my opinion would be
it is in some ways it is more user friendly than the MAME user interface.
Okay, well,
once you get it up and running in DOSBox, it's
that's
all
the funny part. That's such an ironic statement. Once you get DOSBox up and running,
once you get it up and running in DOSBox,
once you,
it's
saying something is easier to use than MAME. That's not saying much.
Well, you understand that I do sit here and I do, how should I say, massage and try to produce this, which we were talking about earlier, this release of MAME that I have for the Mac. That I try to make it as easy as possible to use and set up. But yeah, it has. I set it up with menus and stuff like that, but still, I do say that this emulator under DOSBox is probably slightly more user friendly than the MAME interface, even with all of the updates.
Yeah, I mean, out of curiosity, I probably would want to look at it one day, almost out of morbid curiosity. But yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to look at. But honestly, I'm okay to using MAME or XROY or whatever. So,
if someone wanted to use an older computer as an emulation box, that would probably be their best bet.
Yeah, like a real old computer. Like if you have an actual DOS era machine, up to Pentium class something, and you have that physical thing running, and you want to find something good to use on that machine, then run this emulator on that.
I would definitely go Pentium class, though, because as this other gentleman here pointed out back in the day, there were performance issues with the slower CPUs with the simulator trying to emulate a Color Computer 3.
Right. Now, is it smart enough to be cycle accurate where if it realizes the host machine is so fast that it can now run CoCo at normal speed, or would it be kind of relative to your host speed, and if you had a really fast machine, it's automatically really fast too?
No, it actually throttles the speed on a fast machine to 100%. And it does do a pretty good job of accurately doing the timing and stuff like that. A lot of timing sensitive stuff actually works correctly on this emulator. It does a decent job with the last release of it. That's why I'm saying it is a viable alternative. If you've got,
I'll try it. Curtis has mentioned
set up under DOSBox, and you're already running stuff under DOSBox, and you know how to use DOSBox, and you want to emulate a Power Computer. Hey, this is a viable alternative to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, I'm going to split hairs with you on viable. I would just say alternative because the viable alternative for me is running MAME on a modern machine. But I hear what you're saying. I'm not trying to pick on you, but in my opinion, I don't look at a double emulated solution as viable. I would look at it as a kludgy way to do something. Or if you're running it directly on the hardware. But again, that's my opinion and my definition of the word versus yours. That's okay.
It's definitely in the retro
stuff
spirit.
From an emulation point of view and a usability point of view that actually makes it worth actually running from time to time.
Yeah.
I actually run it to do certain things under emulation.
Okay.
So,
it's definitely got a retro feel.
Okay, I'm gonna put a memoriam on this topic though, so we're gonna end this topic here in just a minute. I'm gonna give you guys till the time it takes me to go to the fridge and grab a beer and come back, and then we're gonna. It's interesting and it's cool, and I'm not picking on you, Barry, or anything else, but I've heard enough about it for now. My head will explode, so we got to move on. I'm a simple person, and I need to keep.
Oh, but I got to keep talking. Then I got to see that.
All right, you guys got about a minute to beat this one to death. I'll be right back.
Looks like we're pushing the DEFCON level.
I enjoyed the DEFCON alert would go off.
I enjoy it like I have herpes.
That's good to know.
CoCoTALK After Dark. Enjoying it like herpes.
I'll probably post the link to it on the Facebook group, so if anybody's interested, they can go out and find it and download it.
Hurry up,
that was
Jason.
the first emulator that I used, and I have good memories of that emulator.
I have great memories of the CoCo 2 emulator.
Yeah, that's
CoCo 3, not so much. But unfortunately, it looks like the floppy drive is not working in this.
Sorry about that.
Oh, we got to call David Ladd. Calling David
Ladd. Paging Mr. Ladd. Paging Mr. Ladd.
And you don't have a USB
Once he listens to this, he's going to start crying. He's like, I could have answered the floppy problem.
No, but it does just pop out, so it's
yeah, sure, she's back.
Stop calling him all those names.
Yeah.
Hi, Stevie.
Let's talk about viable alternatives for a while here.
Got the wrong group.
Viable alternatives Halloween candy.
Yes. That's, so has anybody else listened to the CoCo Crew podcast? I got a chance to finish listening to the whole thing today. Yeah.
Yep.
They did an interview with that guy who calls himself the 6809 coder. I've heard his name, and I'm not sure I've seen his videos, but apparently he does some interesting videos on YouTube and does some deep dives into different things.
Yeah, he's done a few CoCo videos, and they're actually quite good. And I wish he would come out with some more of them.
Yeah.
Very informative.
Cool. Yeah. So I thought it was an interesting interview to hear that guy. So here was their topic. Then one of their host discussions. Maybe we can pick this up tomorrow too on the main show, on the big show. But the 6309 only game. That was their host discussion. Should it be done? And is there enough 6309s out there? Are you limiting your market by requiring it to be a 6309? Is it excluding people? Is the 6309 good enough to warrant the need to have to use it? I mean, a lot of things they brought up, and it was interesting, and they weren't necessarily bashing anybody. It was just a kind of an interesting discussion.
I think does the game require it in order to run?
Does the game require it?
Well, no, I'm not quite like you're taking it. I mean, do you have to have a 6309 for it to be fast enough?
I think in the case of Nick Marentes' game he's working on now, because of all he's doing, he's basically just determined, I can do more with this processor, so why settle for less?
Right. Everything you do for the 6809, you're basically testing it, and I can't do any more than this, so you don't do any more.
Right. Now, honestly, so it was a good discussion, and they weren't necessarily knocking anybody for doing it or anything else, and I'm not going to try to knock them for discussing this, but I think my opinion on this is real simple, and because I'm not a purist. I'm of the opinion, for the most part, that more is more. And if the 6309 is a better chip, then why not use it? And I didn't buy a 6309 for Nitrous 9 because I'm gonna speak very freely here. Fuck Nitrous 9, right? I don't give two shits about Nitrous 9, right? So I don't care. But I think the 6309, it's a great chip, and I have it, and I know it runs cooler. I know it can do more things. But I wasn't interested in this to run Nitrous 9. I'm kidding about Nitrous 9. It's a good operating system. It's just not interesting to me. So I wouldn't buy that chip for Nitrous 9 because that's not my personal interest. I would buy the chip for a game, right? So if I didn't have one and there was a new game that was out and this game was pretty good, and I'd say I want to play that game, then yeah, I would buy it. I don't look at it as an obstacle to sales, honestly, myself. He's writing the game for the CoCo 3. As they mentioned, and I think we'll both agree, a lot of people with CoCo 3s have 6309s already. And they also mentioned, hey, if somebody was on the fence or saying, yeah, I was going to do it, but I was going to wait, but now I've got a reason, it might push them over the fence. I don't know, but I don't look at it as a deterrent or an obstacle or a struggle or even an issue, honestly, for me. But that's my...
I don't know. I would say some people with CoCo 3s have 6309s. I don't know about saying a lot.
There's quite a few of them, because a lot of people
yes, there's also a lot of CoCo 3s that don't have the 6309.
Let's take a poll. Who here has one?
It's not a socketed chip. On this CoCo 3.
But a lot of people...
I have several that have it.
Yeah, but a lot of people who are upgrading now to like the 2 meg board, or they're thinking about making their CoCos a little faster and cooler, they're actually taking out the 6809s and putting 6309s. And one of the things is it's a cheap chip, and I'm talking about cheap cost.
Inexpensive.
A lot of the CoCos that have the 6309 are machines that, there's a bunch of them that had failed 6809s that somebody had to do a repair, and when they repaired it, they ended up repairing it with the 6309 chip. And so
I did that. It ended up just being that I had bad CPUs, and why not just go get a 6309 from Richard and put it in? I mean, that was a no-brainer to me.
Yeah, there's no point. There's no point in not doing that.
Yeah, if you're going to do the socket, if you're going to do something like a Guardian or the Trojan or whatever it's called now to protect your CPU.
Oh my.
Bruce, if you've got to go and if you've got to desolder and replace your CPU anyway, I would 1,000% say that you should probably replace it with a 6309 chip.
Okay, go ahead, Bruce. Sorry.
Yeah, when my gimme went funny, and then so it needed a repair, and it was like, well, while we're here, What else can you do for me? And he says, well,
Yeah.
we could put this in, and why would I want that? Well, it'll run cooler and your cocoa will last longer. Well, that was it.
You're sold.
That's what I needed.
Right.
But, regarding back to the topic about writing strictly for 6309, this strikes me as it's that debate that, Apple, when they, drop the floppy drive and they drop the, they kind of push the limit a little bit. This feels like that. It's like, let's push it to the next level and see if we can draw the market with us. That's what this feels like a little bit.
And honestly, if you think about it, it takes a killer app to sell a new piece of hardware, right? Yep. And it took something like VisiCalc to get people to buy a computer in the first place, because nobody could understand what's a computer going to do for me? Why do I need a computer? Well, you can crunch numbers. Oh, I see a reason. I can now validate the expense, justify the means, and I can see the benefit, right? Yeah. So game consoles, right? So perfect example, if you're a fan of Spider-Man, there's a brand new Spider-Man game on the PS4, and it's a PS4 exclusive, and it's an incredible looking game. But if you say you didn't own a game console at all and you were going to buy a game console and you're on the fence, should I get a PS4? Should I get an Xbox One? Oh, crap, there's this new Spider-Man game. This game looks amazing. I am now going to buy a PS4. That game will sell a console. This has happened throughout the years. People have bought a video game system like an Atari, or people bought the ColecoVision because it came with that Donkey Kong game. That Donkey Kong game looked amazing. So people were dropping $200 to buy a video game system back then. So a killer app can sell something, and we're talking about at most a $40 upgrade if you have to pay somebody to do it. If you do it yourself, you're looking at $5 in parts, right? So it's an inexpensive upgrade. It's not like saying, hey,
a lot of people bought the Atari for Star Raiders. And
right.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Yeah, and so Curtis Boyle just chimed in and says that Nitrous 9 was the killer app that sold the 6309 CPU, because people said, look, I want to run this better, faster, stronger OS 9.
Right,
so
but now that's not such a thing, because you have more advanced operating system on modern.
Wait a minute, Stevie just brought up OS 9 on CoCoTALK app.
Where's the mute button?
I think it was Curtis.
I say we vote him off the island.
See, I muted myself there for a minute. So
Go eat some candy.
Yeah, I did. I'm going to throw up if I have any more candy. So
candy and beer.
Rinsing the candy down with the beer. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm of the opinion, again, I don't know if I don't know if I'd call myself a power user, but I'd call myself an extreme enthusiast when it comes to playing games. Another example, when I was a kid, I would have been afraid to work on my CoCo. I didn't understand how hardware worked and everything else, so I figured when I was going to do an upgrade, I'm going to take my CoCo to the Radio Shack store and let the store manager do it, because he knows what he's doing, right? I'm a dumb kid. I don't know anything, so let's let Mr. Radio Shack fix it. But I was at my friend's house one day, and I saw his dad playing Donkey King, and it needed 32K, and I didn't have it. And he goes, well, if you want, I can go ahead and upgrade your computer. I'm like, dude, pull the plug. Let's do it. You know what I mean? I didn't have a second's reservation letting a complete stranger get into my computer and add memory because I wanted to play Donkey King. Prior to that, I would have been really afraid to do it, but it was at that point, it was a no-brainer. Dude, let's do it,
Well, that said, probably none of my CoCos are going to have a 6309 chip installed until one of the 6809s fails. I require a major repair, or I end up requiring a CoCo 3 with a failed 6809 processor that I need to repair.
Right, and
there's a marketing opportunity here. Maybe Richard could be the distributor for
absolutely
new game.
Send me your CoCo. I will upgrade your CPU. I will add a boomerang and clean out your colon and all kinds of stuff. And
well, there's some other aspect to this for people with a CoCo 1 or 2, and most of those, except the last 1 or 2 versions of the CoCo 2, were all had the 6809 socketed.
And
yes, this is true. it is much easier to drop a 6309 into a
right, right, and that's one of the only ways you can speed up the machine. I mean,
because you can't do an accelerator, right? You can't overclock it or anything because it's going to screw up the VDG and everything else.
Well, you could,
just say no.
You can actually there is possible to sneak in some extra clock cycles. There was an article written about that, but generally,
that 4 megahertz or whatever.
But it's not like the Apple II where they have like this 16 megahertz upgraded CPU for the Apple II, and you can literally turn a dial and crank up the speed on it. We're not going to be able to do that.
That's because there's 14 megahertz CPUs out there that are 65 CO2 compatible. And it's
we with the if we did something like the zip chip on the Apple II, we could run processors faster, but it would be running in cache.
The Apple II was a machine that was designed that you could plug in CPU cards. I mean, look at, that we were talking earlier about the Microsoft Z80 card.
And there was a 6809 card also called the Stellation.
So it was really, the architecture was designed. It has these slots. You can plug a CPU card into the slot and it can take over the system. The color computer doesn't have anything like that.
Barry. The zip chip plugged into the CPU socket. Okay, and it had nothing to do with that expansion. Okay, you could do it on the 6009. That's all I'm going to say.
The problem with the color computer's architecture, though, again, is not only the lack of slots, but also the fact that all of the other chips and the system bus and everything rely on running at a certain clock speed.
Barry, the CPU runs at a faster speed off of cache.
Okay. All right, we're gonna move on from the topic because we're not making any progress there. We're gonna move on that topic. All right. So, anyways, I thought that was an interesting discussion. Right now, we know that Nick Marentes is working on a game for the 6309. Luckily, I've got 2 CoCo 3s. Both of my CoCo 3s have 6309. I'm looking forward to playing the game. If anything, listen, I think that having games to support hardware that you don't have is just going to help that market, right? Like we've been talking about it. Listen, there's all these sound cards, but there's no software to support it. So if there was a really good game that had really good music, you would probably say, gosh, now I need to buy sound card XYZ to have that game that plays that music. So I almost look at it as it's a good thing because it's selling more software and that software is selling hardware. So you're helping two markets and you're
push the envelope.
And in the end, the consumer is just getting a more robust product. So I look at it as a win-win. But some people might say, listen, I'm not going to upgrade my CPU and I'm a purist and I don't want to, or I don't know how to, or I don't want to pay for it. And unfortunately, those people are not going to be able to enjoy the game. But, this decision wasn't made to be exclusionary for some people. But if those people are in that position for whatever reason, they can't or won't do the upgrade. Well, you know what? You can run it in frickin' MAME. You can run a CoCo 3 in MAME on 6309 and run the disk image if you don't want to, take a knife to your hardware.
I was just going to mention that MAME does do an excellent job of emulating a CoCo 3 with a 6309. Yeah.
Hey, Carl Daughtery, why don't you join us on Zoom? The link to the Zoom call is in there. Somebody want to post the Zoom link again? You should join us on the call, Carl. I'd love to have you on here. Anyways, I thought that was an interesting discussion. I'm looking forward to Nick's game. Nick has been blogging about it. The things he's doing with this virtual screen that kind of pans around, and Nick is doing a lot of innovative things in how he's rendering things and creating these larger than the screen viewports that are clipping off the ships and letting you pan and hardware scroll. So he's doing a lot of stuff. So I certainly do think that Nick's game will be pushing the envelope. I think Popstar Pilot already pushed the envelope, to a certain degree, with just the amount of features it had and the complete, arcade experience it had. I know they mentioned on the discussion, Ron Klein mentioned many times how Sockmaster's Donkey Kong did everything it did, and it did it on the 6809. And there is probably some merit to saying, listen, I'm doing this the 6809 way. You know, when back in my day, the CoCo only had a 6809. We didn't have these fancy 6809s, and we're just going to do it the 6809 way. And there is something very pure about doing that. There's a certain level of bragging rights that says, listen, despite the fact that there is a way to do this faster, I'm doing it, you know, old school on the old chip, and it's still pretty good. So there is some merit to pushing the 6809 as harder than it was designed to be pushed, and pulling something off impressive on that. Definitely some merit to doing that. Okay, Carl. Carl does not have a camera or microphone on his desktop. Okay. But Carl, just know you're definitely welcome. We'd love to have you on here rather than just having you keep typing at us. We'd love to have you just talk with us. Any more thoughts on that topic? Have we beat this one to death, or anything else, guys?
Well, as you pointed out, and as I was going to mention, as far as market is concerned, it is true. If somebody wants to play the game, MAME does run 6309 CoCo 3 pretty well. Mm-hmm. So chances are the software will probably run there.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Oh. All right, well, good night, everybody. Curtis must be Curtis, what is your deal that you can't join us too? Curtis is just chatting away with us, typing away with us in chat. And we have 2 people watching us on Facebook. Hello, Facebook. And we've got 12 people on YouTube. Hello to all 12 of you. Bruce Moore.
12 of them are Russian bots, right?
Yes, yes.
Hello.
Bruce, so CoCo Forever. It's a wrap, right?
See again?
It's a wrap.
Yeah. It's all
done.
It's all done. It's out there. I've noticed a couple of people have picked up the entire bundle.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how they feel about the whole thing.
Excellent. Oh, crap. Here's Curtis. There goes the show. Good night, everybody. How's it going, Curtis?
You can't hear us yet or what?
Yeah, I can hear you.
He's waiting on his Canadian weed to kick in.
I'm taking a lot longer than that if I was doing that.
Darn, I was working on this remote mute button, but apparently it needs some more testing.
Yeah, I can still hear you too, Richard. So yeah, it's definitely not working properly. Now, I thought there was an interesting discussion on the 609 thing, because we do have a couple of games that use it now. They usually just kick a native mode for an extra 10% boost or something, like Donkey Kong Remix are 2 examples. It runs a bit smoother, and then Spider Hyper by Roger Taylor used it to do the extra calculations for doing 3 chambers instead of just 2. But nobody's really taken it to the full extent yet.
Right.
But if anybody, you were at the last CoCo Fest and you saw us running the bouncing ball demos next to each other on the 6809, which is optimized, and the 609 version, which is optimized with 609, you can see it's literally twice as fast. That's the kind of stuff you could do. And to be honest, I see a lot of the Commodore and Apple people for the Apple II and the Commodore 64s are doing all these 65, 816 or whatever the heck the name of the chip is upgrades. Yep. And some of the new games and some of the new software that they're doing there requires it. And they don't seem to have a problem doing it, so I don't see why we should put ourselves either. And listen, I'm somewhat new to being in the retro hobby and being in the CoCo hobby. I've been here 3 years now. But what seems to be a no-brainer and what seems to make, complete obvious sense to me, for some reason don't seem to have resonated with this community. I heard that years ago, when Ed Snyder or somebody was getting ready to start a new run on the CoCo SDC, somebody mentioned back then, hey, maybe we should put a sound chip on the CoCo SDC. And for whatever reason, the quote-unquote community did not see any clear and obvious benefit to doing that. Is that true? And this is way before my time, but I'd heard that it was offered or suggested, and it was kind of shot down to add a sound chip. Was it shot down by the community, or was it shot down by the people making it and didn't?
I don't know one way or the other. I'm hearing things third party, but it would be one of these things where if you tried to get public opinion, especially if you went to the mailing list for this, and you said, "Hey, would it be a good idea to add a sound chip to the CoCo SDC?" I think a lot of those gearhead guys would not see any.
Actually, I would find it the opposite, because the gearhead guys on the CoCo list are the ones that used to be the Nitrous 9 guys, and we were wanting hardware for 16550 serial chips 20 years ago and making them. But
sound chips, would a Nitrous 9 guy care about a sound chip, which is more of a gamey type thing?
Yeah, I guess that. Well, maybe I would. I mean, because I wouldn't mind programming it to run in the.
You know what I mean? Because honestly, that as much as we want to sit here and talk about. We're still talking about sound chips, but other than a few people who have done things for the Game Master cartridge, there really hasn't been anybody showing a game using any other sound chip. So, Ed Snyder's got a couple different sound options. He's got his own demos that will play third-party MP3 files and stuff on those things. Nobody's really written a game to demo that. We've got, John Linville did something with Farfall, and now Steve Bamford's doing his thing, that are taking advantage of that. Nobody else has taken advantage of these other chips.
But to be honest, though, that was the problem with the original speech sound cartridge, too, because one, you had to have a multi-pack to have this 2
right.
cassette. So the cost back then was prohibitive. You had to spend, $300 on getting both a multi-pack and a sound speech pack. When the CoCo 3 came out, they didn't bump up the speech sound pack to handle the double speed, so you had to keep clocking it back down when you're sending commands to it, which is just a pain. Shouldn't have to worry about that kind of thing. I don't think Radio Shack really supported it properly, to be honest.
Right. And for me, again, I might be in the minority. I have no desire to buy an Ed Snyder MPI. Nothing against Ed. I love Ed. I love his products. But I've got a real MPI. I've got 2 real MPIs. I don't want to buy another MPI.
Well, I think that was part of the problem with the CoCo SDC, too, because when the original proposal for adding a sound chip to it was added, people had already bought, 100 people had already bought them. They didn't want to turn around and buy a second one right away off the bat again.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think that's why they decided we'll just leave it the way it is.
Well, and so now the numbers are something like Ed Snyder himself has supposedly sold 700.
He said he's approaching 800.
At CoCo SDCs, and they talked about that on the podcast today, too. And even then...
There's that many operating color computers for CoCo.
Well, here's the thing. I at one point in time, I had 2 or 3 CoCo SDCs. I think I've still got 2 right now. So there are some people that might have more than one because you've got more than one CoCo. Or some people will say, well, I want to have this one loaded up with nothing but CoCo 2 software. I've got another one loaded up with nothing but CoCo 3 software. And the third one loaded up with Dragon software, So
still, what I said, that means you have that many operating color computers that are out there being used by people, which is amazing.
Which is pretty impressive.
If an SDC with a sound chip came out, I would buy it.
Oh, I would buy it too.
Even in a heartbeat.
Yeah, even though I've got 2, I would probably buy 2 more.
But I think back in the day when it was originally being done, though, I think it was people had just bought them. They're going, I don't want to spend another. I think it was a bit more expensive back then too when they first came out.
Yeah.
So you want to buy a second one.
This is where again everybody's got a different opinion, and there are some people say, listen, it's a hard drive controller or it's a floppy drive controller. It should just be that. We don't need an extra bell. We don't need an extra whistle. But I don't think there's a such thing as too much of anything. Can't have too much speed, can't have too much RAM, can't have too many sound options. They're really
sounds like you have too much candy though.
No, yeah.
I've got one SDC that I move back and forth between my Color Computer 1 and my Color Computer 3, which the Color Computer 1 often had a regular floppy controller and floppy drive plugged into it. But if they came out with an enhanced SDC with, amongst other things, a sound chip and or a real-time clock on it, that would probably be the deciding factor that, hey, at this point, I'm going to go and get a second one.
Yeah. And that's kind of like, would you buy a 6309? Or would you upgrade it? Say, Eddie Serbinsky was here in YouTube. Hello, Eddie Serbinsky. Bonjour. And how do you say good night in Francais?
Yeah. I mean, for me, the 609 and the sound chips are both the chicken and egg thing, because if there's not enough hardware sold, who's going to develop the software? And if and the other way around, too. So, I mean, somebody's got to take the plunge. And Nick's doing it right now, so that's good.
Yeah, man up and put on your big boy pants and quit bitching about shit and just get her done. Right?
Do it.
Yeah, the 6309, and we were talking earlier about exhilarating the color computer. I wonder if you could take, like, a pin compatible carrier board and mount an FPGA on it and put a 6309 core in there.
Yes, you can.
And and put cache on that board and then accelerate the color computer that way.
Yes, you can.
Get a lot more clock speed out of that.
What about a quantum multiplexer? Could we add a quantum multiplexer and a time phase inverter shift duplexer while we're at it?
Sonic screwdriver.
There was a company.
Maybe, but then you end up getting transported back to the Tandy's headquarters in the 1980s. And
then you start living CoCo forever for real.
The
cup holder for real.
A cup holder, yeah. I had one where I pressed a button and the tray came out and I could put my thing right in there.
The one issue with an accelerator is where do you address the hardware that turns on the high-speed mode and turns off the high-speed mode?
The other thing you have to worry about an accelerator is, are you going to have cruise control?
Well, this is a perfect secondary. This is now all these markets coming together. Jason Reichard could make a series of toggle switches for it. So,
well, you could make it that FPGA as part of your next boomerang.
Okay.
I mean, to be honest, the Gimme X is using an FPGA to do something like this too, because they're not just stopping with VGA compatibility; they're talking about adding all kinds of sped up functions and stuff too. So,
or maybe Richard should put a sound chip. I should say put a sound chip on a memory upgrade.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, slap it in there.
Blinky lights, sound chips.
Yeah.
This is what killed adding the sound chip to the SDC, this feature creep stuff.
Yes, it does.
This isn't feature
Toggle
creep.
switches everywhere.
I'd like a seat warmer, rear window defogger.
Ooh, vibration. Massage bed. We're gonna put the quarters in.
I want
Genuine
vibrating
imitation leather.
vibrating
Just tell Ed to
beads.
change his keyboard to have haptic feedback too while you're at it.
A lithium
it
battery.
lights.
Don't
Yeah, it's
forget
gotta
the
have changing
blinker
lights.
fluid.
Yeah, David Ladd needs his blinker fluid changed.
And his muffler bearings.
The key thing that you're going to need if you're going to do hardware upgrades, it has to be inexpensive and easy, and it doesn't impede on the existing hardware. So
It's free upgrades for life, right?
yeah, that's it.
That definitely helps.
Yeah. No, but you just got to make it simple and small footprint, and it's not going to require a lot of hacking into your CoCo.
Yeah.
At a moderate price.
As
Yeah,
far as
moderate
upgrades are
price.
concerned, if you have something that's FPGA based, well, yeah, you can upgrade it because you can always reflash the FPGA with improved firmware.
Yeah, and that's what Ed and Gary Becker are doing with the CoCo Gimme X.
Yeah, kind of what Brendan's doing with CoCo VGA too. Hey, Jason Downs has joined us on Facebook. Hello, Jason. How are you? That does. It's nice when you have somewhat future-proof hardware design because it's all programmable hardware. You can just patch it as you go.
And then you start getting into the purism thing again, because if you're throwing a 25 megahertz FPGA, is that really a CoCo anymore, or is that just a hardware emulating a CoCo at that point?
Yeah.
Like if you, at that point, you just go, well, screw it, I'll just get a CoCo 3 FPGA.
Yeah, we're going to buy the FPGA or the CoCo Mister or whatever it is this week, So, yeah, and honestly, those don't interest me. The fake CoCos don't interest me. So it's an interesting project. It's interesting that it can be done, but that doesn't. To me, the CoCo Pi is good enough for that. That's still a little magic box that I can boot up and have an experience. And a CoCo Pi is at a price point for $35, $50 if you get the case and power supply and whole 9 yards. That's a doable pill. When you get into these $200 to $300 kits that are somewhat DIY, even after years of going on, they're still a work in progress. There still doesn't appear to be a finish line with the Gary Becker one. It's still like very much a work in progress, always going on. To me, it's not even it's not a product, it's a project.
Well, the other thing about the CoCo Pi,
I think they'd be much more palatable if the price point was lower, though.
Yeah, and they're not making any money on this, so they don't set those prices. That's just what all this stuff calls. Yeah,
I know.
So,
no, but the thing about the CoCo Pi is it can also emulate other. You can use it for other things as well. So
you can make it a retro Pi.
Yeah. Yeah, RetroPie and
excuse me.
other
Sorry.
emulators, and just go on and on and on. And
Yeah. But to be honest, in that case, since I already have a PC, I would just throw MAME on there. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
And I could run much faster, more modern machines you'd ever be able to run in the RetroPie.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've got a Pi that I've got in a little 3D printed case that I run an Amiga emulator on it, and it's in a 3D printed case in the shape of, has Amiga on it, and it's a small, very lightweight, portable thing. I can take it over to a friend's house, has an HDMI output.
Yeah.
I have a thing that does that too. It's called a laptop.
Well, this thing will fit in my pocket. Your laptop won't fit in a pocket, okay? Yeah.
Depends on
Yeah,
how
but I can
big your
emulate a lot
pain's
more. Like I said, that's just personal preference. I mean, I look like Bill Noble and Dave Phillipson really love using the FPGA stuff, and they're doing active development for it. So my hat's off to them. It's just like Steve, I just don't have an interest in that. I'm kind of surprised, Barry, that you actually you view that as a really good thing to have. Yet you're somewhat against putting a 6 through a 9 in one of your CoCos, because I don't see the difference.
No, it's I wouldn't
personal
mind
preference, I guess.
I could do it if I could do it 100% safely, but my color computer is working. Okay.
You don't want to break it, and that's admirable.
Yeah, that's understandable.
Exactly. I mean, I'm fairly good at soldering, etc. But there's always the chance that in the process of removing that CPU, that I could damage some traces and end up with a non-functional color computer.
Yeah, and that's why I wouldn't do the upgrade myself either. But I mean, Richard's perfectly capable of doing it, so I just send it to him. If it goes wrong, I just blame him.
Yeah, and he get free upgrades for life.
Still doesn't get you're still out, one color computer, which they're not making anymore.
No, you send it to Richard. He'll fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's fixed bad traces and screwed up circuit boards and stuff too.
Yeah, so the thing would be, and which is not easy for you or me, Barry, but if you were going to come to CoCo Fest or come to Tandy Assembly, Richard would be there. You just bring your CoCo with you, and he would do it for you on the spot during the auction.
Look, I can fix bad traces. I have fixed bad traces on my. I've got an Amiga 2000. I had to run a bunch of jumpers across bad traces to get that system up and running. So yeah, I could do it as far as that's concerned. I have the skills to remove it, but I just don't if it's working.
Yeah, I get that. I wouldn't do it myself either. I mean, Curtis Boyle burned his hair trying to solder once, for God's sake.
Yeah, and I was just trying to make a nurse through the 2 cable. That shows you how skilled I am.
So, but I had no problem letting Richard do it because he knows what he's doing, and I happened to be there at Tandy Assembly, and he happened to be there, so it was just perfect.
If it were to get done to one of my machines, I would probably do it myself.
Yeah.
Okay? I know
so
what I'm doing.
Barry, as an example, would you be comfortable doing your own 2 meg upgrade?
That again requires pulling out the CPU, and no. I'll run 512. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I don't want to take the chance that I could run into a whole can of worms, as it were, if something goes wrong pulling that CPU out.
Yep. No, I get it. I respect that. If especially if you've got limited resources, limited machines, and you're down to 1 or 2 CoCos, you don't want to risk. You don't want to risk turning your computer into a vegetable by removing a tumor. You know what I mean? It's
one
like
color computer 3 that is fully functioning, and one color computer 3 with a working main board that has a bad keyboard. And I'm looking at possibly eventually getting a keyboard. My monetary resources are also limited to invest in this hobby. So my CoCos are probably going to have 6809s in them for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I think one nice thing about Richard's 2 meg 609 upgrade is that it's quite cheap for the combo, and he does the actual work. And I mean, he used to work at Radio Shack doing this for a living. So
yeah. When Richard did mine, his solder sucker it basically desoldered the CPU, and it was clean. You could see the through holes in the motherboard. So the work he did to my computer was so clean and so safe that it was just working out really good.
And Richard, how many of these upgrades have you done so far, and how many failures have you had where you've screwed up the board so bad it doesn't work anymore?
Were you talking about the CoCo 3?
Yeah.
Yeah. For your boomerang upgrades.
Oh, boomerang upgrades and stuff like that. Let's see. I've sold over 90 of them, and upgrades I've done probably about 25. And how many have I screwed up? None.
Yeah. So that's why I trust you doing it.
Yeah.
But you were on your meds for all those, right?
Yes, yes. No, I'm sorry. I kind of got into this conversation. I had to reset my machine because I had some kind of failure. So I just jumped in. You guys were talking about the boomerang upgrade, so I didn't. You were saying about clean and something like that. It's like,
yeah, well, because Barry's concerned about a DIY CPU upgrade. He doesn't want to do it himself. But I was telling him that I wouldn't do it myself either. But I had the luxury of having you at Tandy Assembly, and your socket removal is so clean. The way you desoldered it from the bottom and everything, that it was the through holes were there and you could see everything, that the CPU was not damaged at all or anything else. And so you just did a really clean professional job. And that's the only way I would want to have it done. I wouldn't want, Fred's garage to work on my computer, but, Boyson Tech did a hell of a job. And I would not do it myself because I know better. I have zero skills when it comes to that. So
yeah, I mean, there's some people that can desolder.
The day that somebody makes a replica Color Computer 3 PC board is the day that I will consider having myself or anybody else remove my 6809 from my CoCo.
You can pry it from my cold dead hands.
Cold dead hands.
There are some other machines where they've started manufacturing replica PC boards. So
yeah. Jason Down says, Richard is awesome. My mediocre skills were not worth putting to the test for doing a boomerang. Okay.
Yeah, and I'll be at Tandy Assembly and doing upgrades. And it's preferably if you guys would let me know in advance, because I really didn't want to be caught like in CoCo Fest. I had so many machines and so little time, and I had to take some of them home. So
yeah. Earlier when we were talking about FPGA solutions for CPUs and stuff, Retro Innovations, Jim Brain, who handles all of Richard's warranty work, he said, everybody loves the FPGA, but putting it into a design is not an inexpensive option. Did I read that correctly? Putting it in a design is not an inexpensive option. So I guess designing it.
FPGAs are expensive chips.
Yeah. Okay, so everybody would love to have an FPGA as part of a hardware solution, but to incorporate that into that product is going to increase the price of the product.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. There you go. And there you have it.
There is one method for upgrading to a 6309 that I have thought about and seriously considered, but I just haven't done it, and I may not do it. But
stacked?
I have less resistance to stack the 6309 on top of the because that means I don't have to mess with my irreplaceable CoCo 3 PC board.
Yeah, and somebody had made a switch circuit for it too, because you actually could flick between the two if you needed to for some reason.
And I was looking at that. As things stands at the moment, if I put a 6309 in there, that may be the method that I use.
Yeah, I don't know enough about circuits and soldering, but that just sounds like a redneck fluster-cluck of a way to do something. I don't know. That's the side-by-side deal, though, right?
Yeah, it allows you to switch between the 6809 and the 6309, and there are some differences and timing stuff that, I know of at least one game that on the 6309, if you have a 6309 color computer, probably will not work correctly.
Which one's that?
Most likely, what is it called? I think Dragonfire is the one. Although it doesn't work on a CoCo 3 anyway. We'd be talking about a CoCo 2 or CoCo 1. But it is very, very timing sensitive, and it flips some of the colors around on between scan lines on the graphics.
That should still work with the 639, because the 639, if you leave it in emulation mode, is exact same timing. The only difference is if they're trying to do illegal instructions to do the timing, because the illegal instructions get handled differently. But the timing is exactly the same cycle-wise. There's not a single instruction that's different unless you kick it in native mode.
And the quote illegal instructions unquote are the other part of the question.
Yeah, that's the one thing, guys. I mean, you've got an illegal instruction trap, plus you've got a lot of the opcodes that were not defined are defined now, etc. But I don't believe, from what I remember looking at Dragonfire, I don't think it uses any of that to do the timing.
So it would actually work. Interesting. So it's the 6309 is completely cycle accurate for all of the.
When it stays in emulation mode. I mean, you lose the 10 to 15% speed up that you'd get by kicking in native mode, but that's why it's there, and that's why they sold it without even telling anybody about native mode, because it was meant to be a drop-in low-power replacement for the 6809. And I actually found an old Hitachi catalog. They pre-announced the 6309 chip in 1985. So
Wow.
Tandy could have even had it in the CoCo 3 if they'd known about the extra instructions.
Yeah.
Yes, and that shows up in CoCo forever, by the way.
Richard
For what it's
Lorbieski.
worth- For what it's worth, FPGAs started under $5. It depends on how many gates or whatever you need to implement the processor.
Okay. Hey, Richard, Carl Doherty says, put me down for a 6309 upgrade at Tandy Assembly.
Okay, no problem. Just bring your CoCo in, and I'll do it.
Carl, how do we
Bring
pronounce your name,
money.
Carl? Is it Doherty? Daughtry? Doherty? Spell out your name phonetically for us, Carl, so I can not butcher it.
The only time I'm not going to be available is during Stuart Chaffee's talks.
Yeah. I really regret not being able to make it to Tandy Assembly, especially after missing VCF too. I mean, prior to this, I've only been able to make one event per year because it was just CoCo Fest. But last year I got to make two. It was CoCo Fest and Tandy Assembly. This year I was hoping to make at least two, but money's just not where it was right now. So I would love to be at Tandy Assembly, but just not gonna be able to do it. Excuse me.
It was difficult for me. I made the 25th anniversary color computer CoCo Fest.
Yeah.
But yeah, traveling from the one corner of the country down here in the southeast where I'm at, all the way up there to Chicago to do it was.
Did you drive there, Barry?
No, I that's the other thing was the time. I couldn't take that much time off to work to have driven up there and driven back. So I flew up and and then flew back, which of course added to the expense. But time wise, there's no way I could have done it driving.
Are you closer to Texas? Maybe you should just drive over to Richard's house.
The roads are under construction.
You can't get there from here.
Yes, Texas is closed for repairs and upgrades. Sorry.
I thought Jim was handling those.
So is it Doherty? Doherty?
You got that darn thing that's called the Gulf of Mexico.
You know what? I might be able to pull off a Hail Mary, but now the problem with last minute flights, they're really expensive sometimes. But I'm just wondering if I could pull off a Hail Mary if I don't have to worry about driving, and since one of the reasons why I wanted to drive there was because I was going to pick up my Tandy 1000. But I don't even know. Evan Wright might not go now too, and Evan Wright says he would hold on to it to a CoCo Fest. So if I don't have to worry about picking up that Tandy 1000, I'm just going to be there, and Grant's already got a room, I could maybe look into booking a flight. And a round trip flight, for example, when I flew to CoCo Fest was like $200. I could pull off $200 for a weekend. I can't pull off the $600 it's going to take to drive there and buy food for 6 days because that's literally how long I would be out to do it. 2 days to drive, 2 days to be there, 2 days to drive home. So, I might be able to pull off a $200 round trip flight and get that last minute Tandy Assembly appearance. So I'll actually look into that.
Yeah, see if you can get a decent flight into either Columbus or Dayton. Columbus would probably be easier, and I'm sure we can make arrangements to get you from here to there if need be.
Yeah. So maybe I'll look into that because that's doable.
The other thing about driving is the cost of gas, and
that's just it. Yeah, because it's 1,200 miles each way, so you're looking at like $300 each way.
You pansies.
Yeah. I gotta drive that
paying
much.
for a plane ticket, so.
Yeah.
And me, I don't even have to leave the state.
Oh, shut up.
It's 3.5 hours. I do have to go to the other side of the state, but I don't have to leave the state. So
yeah, it's 1,300 miles for me.
I think I'm within the radius of requirement to go to this. So
you have a moral obligation. Oh, they were asking.
So
it's about 28-hour drive one way for me.
Holy moly! Is that metric?
Yeah, it's 28 hours metric.
So Stephen, you want to get an IBM PC Junior? I mean, a Tandy 1000, you say, huh?
Yeah, I've already paid for it. I'm just waiting to pick it up.
It's
to shreds, you say?
A rebranded IBM PC Junior, right?
Well, it was 640K on a hard drive and a RGB monitor and all kinds of other stuff. Sure.
conceivably you can hook you can upgrade an IBM PC Junior to 640K. They will do that.
Yeah.
And you can put a hard drive on it. The Tandy is essentially an IBM PC Junior.
I know what it is. I had one. That's why I bought it. I bought it because I had one back in the day, and I want to have it.
It doesn't have that crappy IBM PC Junior keyboard that if you walked in front of it, would block the signal.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. That's its big advantage over the IBM PC Junior.
Yeah.
The keyboard is far superior. So
it was good if you wanted to get the kids to go to bed if they're busy playing games, because you just walk in front of the or walk in front of the between the keyboard and the PC itself, and would block it, and you can't play any games anymore. Kid, go to bed.
Yeah, right.
It's not a problem. It's a feature. So
parental controls. That's what that was.
Yeah, I actually one of the emulations that I tested on the MAME binary that I'm making for my Mac release is the Tandy 1000HX. I'm making sure that that's stable and working.
Oh, wow.
Got that. So
I got one sitting here.
So you can run most of the a lot of the other Tandy emulations were not at a point where they could be made or used stably, but the 1000HX I actually got it to come up and run, and so you can use that actually to play a bunch of the Tandy IBM type
like
games,
the Sierra stuff and everything else.
Yeah, that uses that Tandy video mode or IBM Junior video mode, depending on how you.
And it has the 3-voice music and everything too.
Yep.
Good.
Does it have a mute button?
Well, Stevie, I don't know if you saw in this, but it's probably more for the show tomorrow than today, but I just noticed that Chet on Facebook put up a video of his level editor for Digger.
Yeah, I saw that. That's neat.
But he's actually got a video of it playing him going through the first 15 levels, you can see.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, Chet just kind of showed up and it's taking the world by storm, huh?
Yeah, quite literally in some ways.
Yeah.
Which Tandy 1000 series machine are you getting, by the way? Just out of curiosity.
The original Tandy 1000.
Oh, the 1000 with no letters after it.
Yeah, just the 1000. Yeah. Yeah, that's the one I had, and so it's nostalgic. Maybe I can run Jeff Vasasur's emulator.
It would run pretty darn slow on it. But
yeah.
I think you need a little bit more horsepower than that thing had to run that accurately.
We're going to need a bigger boat. Yeah.
Yeah. You'd probably only be able to run 128K2 from what I remember.
And the other problem that you'd run into is unless you put in a video card, is you won't have VGA. So.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, the CoCo 3 one required VGA, didn't it?
Yeah, so you'd have to run, and then of course once you plug a video card into that, you lose that Tandy 16 color mode, which is what made that machine unique. One of the two things that made it unique.
Yeah.
That it sounds so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Jeff Vasasur, his emulation of the 6809 is what went on to be used with all the video game emulations, right? Was it called the Digital Foundry or something like that? That ended up emulating all the like Bally Midway games and stuff like that. Wasn't he the guy who started those?
Yeah,
companies?
and Williams or something too. I think.
Yeah, Williams. Yeah.
Didn't John Kowalski help him with some of that too? Or is he doing separate? I can't remember now.
Yeah, I do have a morbid curiosity to see that. As much talk as that emulator has gotten in the years I've been around, I do have the morbid curiosity just to look at the damn thing. It
was the very first one that actually did it properly, and then it was the best one until I think David Keels came out. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his last name right.
Well, like I said, I posted the link in the chat here, and I also posted it onto the Tandy Facebook group. So
it does look like the final version was version 1.6B. I have version 1.6 here, and that was the one I was not impressed with. But it's been many years since I've looked at it. But at the time, I remember being very disappointed with the CoCo 3 emulator.
So you missed the A and the B.
The earlier versions had some serious issues, which were fixed, and the last one was the one that I found that was pretty stable and worked fairly well.
Right, and as I just stated, the floppy disk I found has 1.6 on it. So.
Yeah.
Well, in that window over here, I posted a link where you can download the latest one from. So.
Yeah, because if I remember, there was a 1.6, a 1.6A, and a 1.6B, and the last two are bug fixes.
Well, that very well might be the case then.
Okay. Well, you got a few bugs that need fixing there, Jason.
This is a
Apparently.
CoCo tube emulated on my Tandy 1000.
Is that Jeff's emulator?
Yeah, that's the CoCo 2 one.
Yeah, can you bring up the menu just to show Stevie, because he was wondering what the menu
No,
was?
this is just a picture of it.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
It goes real slow.
Yeah, because it has a pop-up thing with a bunch of F keys defined, so you can switch which floppy images you're running and all kinds of things.
Yeah, for the CoCo 3 one, you definitely, to get it running at full speed, you definitely needed at least a Pentium or a fast Pentium at that.
Yeah, I remember my 386 DX40 was running at probably about 50-60% speed with 128K.
Blue Jolly Rancher. We're on to a new flavor.
So if we feed candy to Stevie, he actually is quiet for a little bit. That's interesting.
It purrs like a kitten.
I'm going to get really quiet here myself in a little bit because I got to drop off here. I got 2 daughters that need to make sure they get something to eat. So.
Oh, speaking of quiet, where's the parrot, Barry?
It's been screeching, but I've been hitting the mute button in between me talking, so you don't have to listen to it.
Stevie Stroh now with candy and beer.
Candy and beer.
But no blackjack.
So anyway, as I just said, folks, I got to drop off.
All right, Barry.
Good night and good luck.
Good night.
Indeed. Good night, everyone.
Good night, Barry.
I look forward to trying this viable solution in the near future.
Hey, it works. If you've already got DOSBox set up, it runs. You know, so
yeah. No, I am. I'm very curious.
Relative.
And now Barry will be saying goodbye for the next 10 minutes.
Now you hang up. No, you hang up. Press the button, Frank.
Yeah, it's the Walton good night.
And he's gone. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Barry Nelson.
Yeah, I'm going to have to try his Mac MAME at some point here. I'm storing a pretty old one. Mind you, I got to make sure the debugger's still working properly because the last few builds I tried, it wasn't.
Hey, Richard, is that guy from Airplane?
Yeah.
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 I'm guessing Mac MAME isn't going to run on my Mac Classic.
Probably not.
The original Mac MAME Classic might.
They had MAME for the Mac Classic?
But you had it for the PowerPC because I used to run it all the time on my old laptop. I'm trying to remember the 680XOs. I think there was, at least for the later ones, maybe not for the 68000.
I seem to remember running something on that when I was in school. It was called like Soft PC.
Yeah, that was what became Virtual PC later on.
Oh my goodness. And I forget what I was trying to do with that, but it was so darn slow.
Yep.
Software-based virtualization, yeah.
Yeah, it was. But it was neat, but it was virtually useless.
It's almost like at that point, it's like running an 8-bit CPU to emulate a 32-bit processor. You know, it's just like
it was kind of a slideshow of a PC. It wasn't really
a slideshow.
It's kind of like running that CPM emulator somebody did under Nitrous 9. You can run it. You can run WordStar and Zork and everything else, but some of it just runs like drawing text on the screen like this.
Yeah. Hard to imagine. But it's easy if you try. Cool. So what else is going on?
Have we talked about the Vavasaur emulator yet?
No, we haven't. What is that?
Mikey's telling me on Discord here he's got something he's going to be software releasing tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. Was Vavasaur, was that petroleum-based stuff that you rub on things, or is that something else?
I think if you have a Vavasaur, you have to get ointment.
I don't think we need to know about Steve's sex life at this point.
There's an ointment for that, Stevie.
Yeah. If
Vavasaur, that's
if your CoCo develops a Vavasaur, make sure you get the gimme ointment for it.
Well, there wasn't a chance of ever getting him on for an interview.
Yeah, I was watching
Just
one of your old.
now.
What's that, Bruce?
just apologize now and get it over.
Yeah, right. We're Jeff Vaz. I can't even say the name.
Jeff, in case you're listening, Stevie's been drinking.
I've been drinking and eating candy.
He's hopped on beer and candy. Yeah, so it's a sugar
Jolly
and
Ranchers.
alcohol.
We'll just mute him when we interview you, Jeff.
Yeah, Jolly Ranchers, you should get yourself some Zima.
Zima, tastes like zit.
If they still make that. I knew people would put like lifesavers in Zima, and I said one day, well, you should put like a Hall's mentholyptus or Hall's menthol in there instead. And you're like, dude, that's disgusting. I said, that's the point.
Yeah, I only drink a Zima when my wife gets on her strap on, so it doesn't happen very often.
I don't even know if they make it anymore.
We used to make fun of the guys who drank them.
Ugh.
TMI, Stevie.
Yeah.
I ordered a Zima, not an emphysema.
Yeah, right. It was never considered a manly drink. Oh.
I can't imagine why.
It's actually not bad when you put some Bacardi 151 in it.
Oh, it's not bad. It's not so bad when you put liquor in it. Okay.
Nowadays, up here, we put it in a bong instead of water, but...
Oh.
Double hit.
Good day, A.
I forgot.
Okay, so Mikey just sent me another message. He said this announcement, he probably cannot make the show live tomorrow, so he's going to give me some details, and I guess we'll just mention it, and he'll have a download link or something.
Oh, he's
going to have a pre-recorded video? Just play?
It doesn't sound like it.
Ah.
Oh, short CoreDUMP.
He's going to make me try to read or something.
Oh, hopefully he uses a lot of big words.
Yeah, he messaged me too. I just saw that.
Big words. Yeah, the ones we have to sound out with multiple syllables.
As long as he writes them phonetically, then we can just feed him to the speech sound pack and let it do the announcement.
Yeah. Hi, this is the speech and sound pack with an announcement from Mikey.
I am being made obsolete and replaced with...
But can the sound speech pack say Vavasaur?
Vavasaur.
Only phonetically.
Vavasaur. Somebody pull it up. Anybody got the emulator going right now?
It's like dinosaur.
Dinosaur.
You know, I've been playing this game lately. It's called Ark, right? And it's like a modern PC game that takes place on a dinosaur island. And every time I play that game, I just think, my God, how far have we come since Dino Wars? You know, Dino Wars was low-res 2D. This thing is like photorealistic.
See, that could use a 6309.
Yes, yeah. Dino Wars?
Oh, yeah.
I'm not putting a 6309 in my PC. Never. Never. Not happening. I don't want to damage it.
Push Dino Roars to the limit. I honestly think there should be a new CoCo makeover of Dino Wars. I mean, it could be done.
The CoCo 3 version, you could add a couple more colors.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, it's called Rampage.
Yeah.
Rampage made Dino Wars look like a Pong game. So, yeah, it happened. So, yeah, Rampage was actually quite good on the CoCo.
Oh, absolutely. That was
one of the better ports, actually, for the 8-bits.
Oh, yeah. Excellent.
It still doesn't beat Donkey Kong, though.
No. So what do you think we haven't seen? We know Nick's working on something. What have we not seen on the CoCo? What is plausible that we could see in the next year or two? Some type of new software that's really going to make us all go, holy shit, you know, Donkey Kong Remix is like a Pong game now. Is it possible? Is that quantum leap in performance?
A quantum leap, I think you'd need a 6309 for.
Yeah.
Yes. You need a dual 6309s.
Dual 6309.
Jim does have that option. They're both 4 megahertz too.
Why stop at dual? Why not go with a quad?
I would like to do a adventure type game like the Interbank incident.
Yeah.
You would have screens and you could, drop and pick up objects and it could go from place to place. But
Castle of Theragood.
Yeah, but the thing I really liked about Interbank Incident is that there was no 2 games alike. It was always random.
And it ran on OS 9 too.
Yeah.
Yep. With a hard drive, one of the very first games that supported the hard drive.
Mm-hmm.
So now that Barry's not here, we can talk about OS 9 after dark.
You're a cruel man, Steve.
I'll just be happy to talk without getting interrupted and argued with.
I think you're on the wrong show.
Yeah, that's part of our motto and creed of the whole show.
James, you're wrong.
Fuck you, Stevie.
No reason. You're just wrong.
You're wrong. You're wrong.
It's now time for everyone's favorite segment, Why You Are Wrong.
Why you were wrong.
But I just
Why are you wrong and stupid for being so? That's our new segment.
Followed up later by,
I stand
why would you want
corrected.
that?
Why would you want that?
I stand corrected. I was wrong.
You were wrong. Yes, you do. And Tom C says, I'd like to see the Defender transcode finish. Yeah.
And the Tutankhamun one, too, because that looked pretty good.
Definitely. But I mean, is there something that we haven't even thought about yet? Like what could what could the 6309
Minecraft.
do?
flux capacitor.
Yeah, right.
I mean, there's some arcade ports.
Games.
Yeah, there's some arcade ports that we definitely are capable of doing that nobody's ever completed or made a really good version of it, like especially CoCo 3 versions. We have quite a few on the CoCo 1 and 2, but I mean, that didn't have the horsepower of the graphics.
And would it be so wrong just to go back and, like you were saying earlier, Curtis, just to optimize some existing CoCo games that were pretty good, that just were limited by, not knowing better?
Yeah, either by rush timelines or whatever. Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm going to try that with the Rescue and Fractus. I'm doing the 609 optimization first, and then I'm going to 6309-ize it. Hopefully, Bill will get back to Flight Sim 2 because he had done some patches that way before that unfortunately we've lost over the years, but it's been sped up too.
What about a 6309 version of the Sierra game interpreter?
Yeah, that's on my list too. Because that's one if you update the engine once, you've upgraded all those games.
Right.
Well, I wanted to do an interpreter for a couple of the they're kind of an engine like Zork and all the Infocom games, but different companies. That it was I don't know if you guys have heard of the Pawn and some of those.
No,
they were probably came out a little later. They were popular in Europe and on the Amiga and Atari ST. But I've done a lot of work on it already, so hopefully I get around to finish a couple of those, and then we'll get a bunch of some adventure games that some of you have never seen.
Hey, Rogelio is here, or Rogelio. I always forget how to pronounce his name, but he says DL logo port to the CoCo 3. I'd pay for that. That's Dale Lear's logo. Yeah, DL logo is what Dale Lear made for the CoCo 3. And I've seen some of Roger's stuff he's done in that. He's done some Christmas demos in it where he's got like snowmen and Christmas trees and 4-voice music and things like that. So yeah, Dale Lear made logo. I don't know if it runs on OS 9 or not, but I remember when we interviewed Dale, he was talking about it. So DL logo is a pretty cool, like a logo on steroids,
Yeah, because we had multiple. We had the original color logo cartridge, and we had color logo on disc, which added some disc support. Then we had super logo, and then we had DL logo, which I believe is under OS 9. So we've had at least 4 versions of logo.
Yeah, I've seen some of his work in DL logo. I've seen some of his YouTube videos. It looks really good. I never really logo's the one that had the turtle, right? Yeah, I never messed with that. Turtle graphics, right?
Yeah, it's almost like running draw statements because it's relative to your current position. You go forward 10, turn right 45 degrees, and
well, that's one of the things when they were interviewing that guy on the CoCo Group podcast. He was saying that he sees a future with more people using CMOC writing software because he thinks that the progression to move from BASIC to C is an easier leap than going from BASIC to assembly. And that CMOC in itself is pretty good, and the speed you get for most things is going to be good. And so he predicts that CMOC might help open doors for software in the future. And that's an interesting thing to consider.
Yeah, and as you mentioned on the interview, I mean, Brendan's already using it for his editor for the text characters on the CoCo VGA. Mm-hmm. And we've had a couple games done in it too. I mean, C was already under OS 9 for quite a few years, and there was a lot of development under C. A lot of stuff. All that stuff is all C.
What do you guys think about Ron Klein now being on the podcast? I think he's a good addition.
That traitor. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, it's good.
Yeah.
He's smart. CMOC is pretty good, but it it's not as fast as GCC, but I wouldn't wish GCC on most people.
Right. Well, the thing about CMOC is it's got a bunch of libraries, and there's more libraries being added all the time.
Hey,
so,
James, you're wrong.
welcome
time, apparently.
Welcome to Why You Are Wrong. We need to get Alan Huffman to make a ditty for that. So,
You are wrong.
Sounds like gasoline.
you are wrong.
Why you are wrong.
Why
Dun,
you
dun,
are
dun.
wrong. Let me count the ways.
Thank you.
Stevie's top 10 list of why you were wrong.
I like having Ron Klein on the show. I think he's a good added point, counterpoint, just another opinion, another voice. You know, they are still they'll never reach our level of panel size. So we've had
And inanity.
We're the Isle of Misfit Toys.
That's probably the most polite way I've heard it put.
Misfit Toys.
Now, are people allowed to? People are allowed to ghost between the shows too, aren't they? Like he can still guest with us once in a while, and we sometimes guest on roundtables and stuff. So.
Has he violated his NDA and non-competition clause?
Yeah. I believe there are certain contracts, no competes and stuff like that. So yeah, no. I mean, no. Everybody's welcome on CoCoTALK. Ron's welcome. Ron and I chat on Discord, and I've mentioned to him. I said, look, I like having you on the show. You're a great addition. I said you're always welcome. The door's always here. Holy shit! It's Nick frickin' Marota's here. What's going on, Nick Marota?
What?
Nick Marota?
Nick Marota.
Nick Marota.
Hey, we can start the show now. We can start the show. Nick Marota's here.
Roll the opening. Nick Marota's here.
All right, let's roll the opening. Hold on.
CoCoTALK After Dark. CoCoTALK After Dark.
That's right, it's CoCoTALK After Dark, the only show that reintroduces itself when Nick Marota enters the chat room. More Nick Marota right after this. Welcome to Nick Marota After Dark, everybody. Nick Marota is here.
The only CoCoTALK show with more Nick Marota.
Nick Marota, it is in your contract. You are not allowed to appear on the CoCo Crew podcast. I forbid it.
And Nick Marota, you are wrong.
You're wrong, Nick Marota.
CoCoTALK now with 30% more Nick Marota.
Yes.
Charge.
Yeah.
And now Nick's wondering what he stepped into here.
Yeah. No, I mean, listen, there's never been there's never been a non-compete issue as far as I'm concerned. Everybody here is welcome to do whatever they want to do on the CoCo Crew. Should that
I'm sure
opportunity happen?
Invite me on.
And vice versa. Everybody from the CoCo Crew is always welcome here. Ron Klein, the door is always open for Ron Klein. He did a great little segment with us, helping us understand the Cocoa Pie. So when their time,
yeah, I mean, John and Neela both popped in our show multiple times, and sometimes in chat, etc.
Mm-hmm. And they're on Discord and stuff. So yeah. It's a family affair here, right? Even though James Different-Daffer is wrong. It is still a family affair, and most of us like most of us.
Yeah, it's always good to have that. It's always good to have that cross pollination.
Yes. As a matter of fact, tonight. Go ahead,
I said
James.
Stevie was smart. I was wrong.
Yeah, you're wrong. Yeah. You're wrong. Whatever you say, it's wrong. You're
grossly incorrect.
It's like the McLaughlin group. Wrong.
No, I'm actually tonight. Most of our subject matter came from talking about the podcast, so it's good.
Making the CoCo great again.
Again.
Hey, there's Grant Leighty in chat.
Where's Grant? Oh yeah.
Yeah. What the hell?
Hey, what are some good emulators for the CoCo 3?
Okay. I would have to say a viable alternative. I could think of a viable alternative where you could run a Mac emulator to then run soft PC, then and then create a DOS boot disk, and then run VCC and yeah, Jeff.
And then
run the
OS
system emulator under that.
And I hear the guy who made that was called Joe Dinosaur.
When you've got that all set up, you can run the Donkey Kong transcode.
It's a viable alternative.
It's a viable alternative. Oh, for fuck's sake.
There it is.
No, really, it's a viable alternative.
It's a viable alternative to, sticking a needle in your eye or something. Doing something painful.
Shoving a needle in your eye.
Right. It's
Same
a
thing.
viable alternative to a root canal. Like I said, I'm sorry. I was disappointed, but maybe at some point I'll check out the B version. But
Yeah. I actually want to see it now.
Floppy drive on here again.
All I know is that was my cue to go make a snack, so I didn't reach through the internet and kill someone.
It's like the Yellow Pages, but deadly.
I was trying to find some way to not, I don't know, have all my will to live just kind of,
Your profile picture says it all.
It really does.
And by the way, Greg says your picture is racist there, Richard.
Oh, okay.
Who said that?
Grant Leighty.
Greg Leighty.
Grant?
Greg.
Fuck off.
Hey, Greg, you're wrong.
Yeah, you're wrong.
Welcome to another episode of Why Greg is Wrong.
What did Greg get wrong this week? Find out after this.
I still think we should talk about hookers because wasn't that supposed to be the episode?
Yeah, it was hookers and blow.
Jason, I have a good solution for the Greg, is wrong segment there. We just set up a live webcam that follows him around 24 hours a day.
Tell me why Greg is wrong. Do-do-do-do-do.
That's it.
Oh, it's time for a train.
Oh, is it really?
Yes, it's time for a
No,
train.
this show is a train wreck. Oh.
Greg, why aren't you joining us?
He's in post-op.
He's too busy doing things wrong. That's all.
No.
I think does he want to be referred to as Greta now or something?
Yeah.
Maybe he's on the toilet.
Glenn or Glenda?
Oh.
Where is
I've seen
David
that.
Ladd.
Glenn or Glenda?
Glenn or Glenda. I had never seen that before, and I saw it.
Is that like a Victor Victoria type thing, or?
No, it's an Ed Wood movie, and it's horrible.
Oh, that's where he's a transvestite or something, right?
Right, it's a horrible movie. The only reason I watched it, I got to watch it in the theater, was because the two of the fellows from Mystery Science Theater 3000, they call them the Mads Are Back. They go around and do live shows.
Yeah.
Frank Conniff and Trace Buell or whatever the heck, I don't remember how you pronounce it, but the guy that played Dr. Forrester in TV's Frank, and they go and they've been to in here in Pittsburgh a few times, and one of the movies was Glenn or Glenda, and it was it was like, yeah, this is funny, but I'm even having trouble getting through with this with the guy sitting up there making fun of the movie. It was painful.
Awful.
Oh, it was bad. I mean, there's good bad movies and there's bad movies, and that's pretty bad.
And that's where Ed Wood himself was
Yes.
in drag or whatever, right?
Yep.
It's really bizarre.
Yeah, I think I remember the movie of Johnny Depp where Johnny Depp played Ed Wood or something, where there was this scene where he was wearing like the sweater and the bra and the whole 9 yards, and he was like dating the chick or something, and it's like, you don't think I'm weird because I wear a bra and a sweater, do you? No, not at all. It's perfectly normal. So Grant Leighty does it, so why not?
Oh.
Only when he's dressing up to go out.
Oh, shit!
There he is. See what you've done now. You've brought him out.
At least he didn't turn his camera on. I don't want to see that bra and stuff there.
For fuck's sake!
Just rag on him until he shows up. That's the method.
That's
a great sound
program.
That's a great sound bite right there.
Yeah. This is the talk shit about Grant Leighty show.
Welcome, Gregina.
Greg.
Oh, Jesus.
I thought it was Greta.
How's the axe wound healing?
Oh, yeah. Well, now that we've annoyed Grant, now what?
Who else can we piss off?
You know, every time I think of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, I always think of Nick.
That's an Australian movie, right?
Yeah, that's
but it's like the drag queens in the bus or something like that, or
there's that episode in there.
You watch it over and over again.
No, but I remember this one part that I never will forget is where this woman at the bar is shooting ping pong balls out of her, where.
Oh wow! Out of her
David Ladd.
Exactly.
Meow. Yeah, he has a still of it and it's autographed.
Oh Jesus!
The only
guy in there had the guy in there from The Matrix. Was it Mr. Black?
Oh, Hugo Weaving is Agent Smith, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, that's
Mr. Anderson.
Yeah, Mr. Anderson. It appears you're leading two completely different lives. In one life, you're Thomas Anderson, a respectable programmer. You have a job.
And the others, you're wearing panties and a bra.
And the other one, you're using a emulator.
They're running an emulator to run an emulator.
Alternative.
You guys are scaring Rhonda to death up there, and it's awfully quiet.
And
this episode is a viable alternative to doing something with your life.
Yeah, this show is a viable alternative to the CoCo Crew podcast.
This show is a viable alternative to doing something productive.
Yeah.
We haven't had a break in so long. My eyes are yellow.
We're listening. I think we're going commercial free.
Commercial free, brought to you by Grant Sex Change.
This commercial free brought to you by. Time for the oxymoron segment.
Yes.
Isn't that the whole show?
Free. Yeah, this commercial free segment is brought to you by. I just got that.
Not to paraphrase anybody, but didn't someone say like they got time warped into middle school at one time? That's what it feels like right now.
It's all right. Go back to sleep, Rich.
Middle school was entirely too mature for this conversation.
Yeah, well,
so
all I'm saying. Go ahead, Grant.
Richard, explain to me your picture, would you please?
Tune in earlier.
This was his. This is Richard's viable alternative to listening about Jeff Vasasor's emulator. I'd rather set myself on fire than hear any more of this shit. Oh my god.
You guys were smoking some of that Canadian wacky tobacco.
Oh
no.
It's great when you control and some people just don't get it.
Well, there are people in this world who have no social awareness.
I'm sorry, what were you saying?
Exactly. No social situational awareness, and unfortunately, I seem to work with several of them these days.
Excuse me, can I interrupt and talk for the next 20 minutes without letting anyone else say a word? I mean,
about something totally different.
No, you're wrong.
Go ahead, James. We're used to it.
Where's that mute button?
Okay, time to make Stevie's head explode.
Go ahead.
Whoa.
Let's talk about let's talk about disassembling BASIC again. You and Curtis get into it at depth. Let's do a deep dive this time instead of that shallow skimming you did.
No, today I was going to disassemble the OS9 kernel. That would be more exciting.
Oh, it's getting crazy now.
Living life on the wild side.
Buckle up.
Or we'll start going through the entire circuitry design of the micro-coded 6309 chip. And
Ooh. Why hasn't Nick Marotta joined us?
Nick Marotta? Is Nick Marotta here?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm thinking the more you want to start talking about that, Richard's profile picture is looking more and more appealing.
Good, it's working.
I think I have a gas can out in the shed.
Yeah.
Let me just send you a virtual match. We're in.
I can send you matches.
Bruce has been kind of quiet.
I can't imagine why.
That's because he's both mature and has taste.
Oh, really? What is he doing on this show?
Observing.
I think you're lost, Bruce.
I think he's building up for the court case of defamation of character for everybody here. So.
All right.
I'm taking notes.
Yeah, so tomorrow my icon is going to be a dumpster fire.
So this is like the pre-picture, and that's going to be the post-picture.
Yes.
Oh, Steve's back into the candy.
Oh, yeah. Box of nerds.
Yeah, because he's not incoherent enough without all the sugar. So
because anything that happens tonight, he can just blame on the beer and candy and cold medicine, like the politicians always do.
Explosive combination.
You need another DEF CON or Stevie Con thing for your diabetic coma, like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey, Grant.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if you were listening earlier, but I'm actually going to look into kind of a late minute, maybe booking a flight to Tandy Assembly. Because that might be cheap enough to do. That way you and I can still be snuggle bunnies. But that might be cheap enough to do.
Bras and panties optional.
Well, Columbus is kind of on my way, but that would probably be your best bet for a cheaper flight. I think South. Yeah, true. I don't know. Where would you be flying out of? Miami?
Probably West Palm.
West Palm. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Southwest would probably.
Southwest. Yeah, Southwest does fly into Columbus.
Yeah. So I'll look at that. I'll look into that. I've actually got 2 teaching gigs coming up. I got one in November for a week, and I got one in December for 2 weeks. So I'm gonna have a little.
Is your prostitution job not doing too well?
No, not at all. No.
Yeah, the gig
with blackjack and hookers.
I mean, come on, you've seen him, right?
I make enough. I make as much money prostituting.
That's true. He has to pay them that stuff.
Yeah. I make out like David Ladd at McDonald's.
Oh God, I'm having to go to McDonald's tomorrow as it is.
Are you going
for McDonald's?
Yeah, it's what flavor of shake is David having today? You're going to meet him this weekend, right?
Yeah, I'm heading up there tomorrow. That's the plan.
All right, Carl.
How many screaming children are in the background at McDonald's?
Yeah, because they see David and Greg together.
And they don't run, though.
Carl's leaving us. He's got to go to work. Who the hell goes to work at 11 o'clock at night?
Escort service.
Yeah.
Well, it's maybe he's in a different time zone. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is he like? I don't know where he is. It could be tomorrow.
It could be. Could be yesterday, even.
Well, in Australia, it's next Tuesday, right?
Yeah. It's always a Wednesday.
So what day would you fly in?
I don't know. I'll look up flights tomorrow. I think you still have to pay in advance, right? So I couldn't even pay in advance for it this weekend, but probably in the near future I could. So I'll get a preliminary idea what it might cost. So yeah, maybe I'll have to look. I'll look into it. But what would make sense? Like maybe flying in early Friday. How long of a flight? It can't be that. It can't be more than like a 4-hour flight, right? To get to Ohio.
No, probably about 3 to 4 hours, I would say.
So yeah, if I got like a morning flight and I got there midday Friday, that probably wouldn't be too bad, right? Somebody could grab me.
Yeah, I'm coming in Friday
Well,
afternoon.
Yeah, because I took Friday off, so I'm.
Yeah. So maybe fly in Friday and then fly home Monday.
Yeah. I want to get
But
away.
Are you wanting to let me know? Because I can. Well, you probably can't take the Apple. I was going to say that might be a possibility.
Well, I wouldn't be able to take the monitor, so it doesn't serve that much purpose. So
yeah. So we'll wait till Coco Fest on that one.
Yeah. What is Ron Delvaux talking about Rocky Road ice cream? Where's that coming from, Ron? In the live chat, Ron Delvaux posted Rocky Road ice cream.
I went and ate some.
Oh, okay. Well, by all means. Have some.
You got candy. I got
Why
ice.
not?
Yeah. Just make sure you bring enough for everybody. Oh, shit. It's David Ladd. Look at that.
Oh. He heard us talking about him.
There goes the neighborhood.
Uh-huh.
Where's his introduction?
David Ladd, what have you been up to lately?
Oh, I'm much happier breaking stuff.
All right. Everybody, it's
David Ladd.
Playing with his floppy.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. David Ladd in the Turn Signal Orchestra.
Change the blinker fluid, please.
Yeah, Ron Delvaux's eating his Rocky Road.
That's great.
With real rocks in it, because he's a real man. He's a man's man.
He wants to be authentic.
Made with real rocks and real road. Nothing but pebbles and asphalt for Ron Delvaux.
That's how they do it in Arizona, man.
That's right.
When men were men and women were women.
David Ladd, what have you been up to, buddy?
Not much.
All right, thank you. Good night.
Thank you, David, for that exciting update.
Many words.
David's always does his best in these long interviews.
Well, David, we're out of time, but thanks for joining us.
As we move on to the bonus round.
That's like the other day, someone asked me, just seen any good movies lately? I said, yes.
And then continued on your way.
Yes.
I did. It was someone I didn't really want to talk to. And they just kind of had this look, kind of like I've answered your question. I mean.
Yes, I have.
Hey, Ron, you got some ice cream up there in your mustache.
You're welcome.
Hi-oh.
It just makes him look sexier to Grant, that's all.
I'll give something for my wife.
That reminds me of reminds me of an old joke when the penguin takes his car to the shop. He's eating some ice cream. Asks the mechanic what's wrong. He says, "Looks like you blew a seal." He goes, "Nope, it's just ice cream."
Yeah, that joke doesn't get the seal of approval.
Let him come. He'll be here all week.
That's it. Try the fish. Try the McFish sandwich with David Ladd and Mickey D's.
This segment of CoCoTALK After Dark brought to you by the McFish sandwich.
The McFish sandwich. This commercial-free section of CoCoTALk.
A David Ladd,
McDonald's.
David Ladd pick.
At McDonald's, isn't it called the fellatio fish?
No, geez.
Yeah, that is something entirely different.
This fish has got a bone in it.
Well, then you better pull it out quick, Steve.
Just watch it. You don't want to get those bones stuck in your throat, you know.
You guys ever watch Jim Carrey gag?
No.
He does it so well.
Yeah, right?
As we say goodbye to the family-friendly tag.
Yes. Oh.
I haven't even been drinking anything. I'm just loopy. I've been up a lot today. I don't even need it. Just Coke Zero and no sleep.
Diet Dr. Pepper and water has been my favorite.
I should. Yeah, I don't have any, or I would.
Unless it gets stolen.
I would make it David Ladd.
Unless it gets stolen.
The incident The incident we will never forget. Never forget the Dr. Pepper from CoCo Fest.
Oh my gosh! I believe there's still the case file is still open. It's not a cold case. It's still an active case. Oh Lord!
I think it's only a 6-pack. I think it's a 6-pack, not a case. But
the
well, that's
case
the thing
is a
now.
stolen soft drink.
That's the thing now. When David shows up at any event, we have to bring him Diet Dr. Pepper.
That's right.
And bring armed guards.
I remember the Jolt Cola.
Oh, that was awesome. I'd
Yeah.
never had that before, but that was really good.
Yeah,
I had
used
that
to
when
live
I
on
was
that
a kid.
stuff.
Ugh. I think
Twice
when
the sugar and 10 times the caffeine.
I think the last time I had it, it came in glass bottles. It was like 16-ounce non-returnable glass bottles.
They used to have the black cans too, the extra Jolt, which had twice as much caffeine as the regular Jolt. That was the good stuff.
Oh my goodness, double Jolt.
It's a heart attack in a can.
Yeah.
Well, Red Bull's about the same strength, so.
Yeah, I was never a fan of Red Bull,
but it tastes
I
like crap.
Yeah, the only time I drank Red Bull was when it was mixed with some kind of liquor. I don't even drink. They
How
call
do
it
they
Jaeger
collect
bombs
Red
or
Bull?
something.
Jaeger bombs.
Yeah,
Jaeger bombs, or I've had it with tequila, and I've also had it with something else. I don't remember.
Red Bull
I
and
think they were
vodka was
Jaeger
popular drink years ago.
How did they collect Red Bull?
I don't want
You
to
know,
go there.
How do they
wanna know.
collect Red Bull?
Don't you wonder?
Well, they have this Red Bull.
It's just like what do they make baby powder out of?
You dry them out and you
Or at least-
grind them
yeah,
up.
just gonna say, at least they let you dry out first.
You dry them out and grind them up.
It's
It's
like-
real simple.
Like the duck sauce from the Chinese restaurant.
We need to get Jim Carrey gagging. It's great.
Oh,
Now we can't show anybody else's clips.
that copyright police will not be happy with that.
Let's just do it anyway. We did it before.
Well,
Isn't that some of our history?
do I hear the copyright police in the rearview mirror?
I think I do. Copyright police. They're on to you, Ron Delvaux.
You're going to blank me off of here, are you?
Just put a big black bar up over Ron.
Censored.
Next time on CoCoTALK, I shave my beard.
Oh, that's got to be
that's
episode of CoCoTALK.
That will be a pay-per-view episode if you're going to do that. We're going to make money on that. So.
That's going to be a very special after-school special.
Yeah, I think Mark Overholzer should also participate as well. Shave those beards.
When we use one of those blades.
Oh, like the straight razor?
Yeah, do this and. Yeah, last time we saw Ron, he had his neck cut.
When we last saw Ron, he was bleeding profusely.
Yes, make it really interesting. You can only do it with the school safety scissors. Snap, snap. The first 18 hours of this marathon begins.
No problem. School safety scissors, if you just keep, sharpening them up, eventually they'll be fine.
And they won't be safe anymore.
They'll be fine.
Next time when Ron cuts his beard with plastic scissors.
A spork. You can always shave with a spork.
It's going to take a while.
How many beers you got left?
Ron eats soup with a spork.
Ron, we'll just get you an epilady for your beard.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was. I think you went too far there, David.
Yeah.
See,
I want to go to Aruba and get my beard braided. Wouldn't that be cool? Have you ever seen that when you go to some of these islands?
Yeah.
To come back singing Bob Marley songs.
Like,
don't touch my wife. Leave my wife alone.
I'm not familiar with that Bob Marley song.
Braid my beard.
Don't touch my wife.
Yeah, but look at this.
You were hiding a pen in your beard?
Yeah. How many people can do that?
What else you got in there? In a Model 2000 or something?
Bring up. I think that donates like full screen. Like
what
up?
He just pulled a spoon out of his beard.
That's close to you.
You got a can of soup in there or anything?
What does Ron have in his beard this week?
That's a
he's a magician.
Is there a family of? Is there a nest in there with baby birds too?
Keep my cell phone in there.
Look, a squirrel.
I don't remember where I got that.
What? Nuts. There's nuts in here.
Oh, Lord
That's
have
just
mercy.
nuts.
It's not. James, you're still wrong, so just so you know.
Is that sick and wrong or just wrong?
You take your pick. I'm looking at a big pile of candy here.
Oh, he's back into the candy again.
Yeah, I gotta lay off this candy. I'm getting a sugar high right now, I think so.
Yeah.
You're going to have a stomachache tomorrow.
That's all right. Somehow I've drank 2 Coke Zeros, so that must be part of the problem.
No, Christ.
You guys are all crazy tonight.
I wanted to find kids to do trick-or-treating and then have them come over the house. Well, let's just check this bag for, anything bad. Stand over there.
Now I'm going to have to confiscate all this candy. It looks dangerous.
Pull a couple of razor blades out. Look at that. Look at that.
That's where he keeps them in his beard.
That was the big scare when we were kids. You had to worry about apples with razor blades or white hot pennies or,
How about bubble gum with spider eggs in them and
check
white hot pennies?
I remember you can take your candy to the hospital and get an X-ray just to make sure it was safe to eat. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was safe up until it became radioactive going through the X-ray machine.
This candy's glowing.
Yeah, I heard horror stories about like these white hot pennies. Like these people would supposedly take pennies and get them to the point where they were like literally like in an iron forge or something, and then say, "Here, kids, would you like a penny?" And the kids would hold out their hands and get the burning penny in the palm of their hands. And this was the shit we were told as kids to look out for when you were trick or treating. So
you sure there wasn't just a couple of stoned parents that were hot knifing all night?
Yeah, right.
Where did this come from? Was it just a urban legend, or was it because of the whole tunnel thing?
I don't know. It's something I just remember hearing as a kid. What is
that one? I do remember hearing. I remember hearing the razor blades and apples and stuff, but I never heard that.
When my dad took us, we had a Glock.
A Glock.
If they give you crap, you give them Glock.
Oh.
No reloading.
Hey,
Jason. Treat.
Jason Downs says, I won a couple more auctions on eBay tonight, then went and looked at how much I've spent on CoCo stuff recently. Ouch.
Yeah, don't Jason, don't do that. Now you've learned. Don't look how much you spend. Just spend.
Yeah. Like the one guy that was saying, well, I want to hook up something, but I don't want to spend a lot of money. And I was just like, look, if you're going to have a CoCo and you're going to be in the hobby, just be prepared to start spending money. It kind of comes along with it.
We can rebuild him, but I don't want to spend a lot of money.
That sounds like a Robot Chicken premise right there. So.
That's a Family Guy thing.
Oh, is it a Family Guy one? Okay.
Yeah, he's got like a bucket for a foot. And,
Tonight on What's in Ron's Beard.
$1 bill.
Can you save it for the strippers later?
Yeah,
it's
on giving.
It's a vending machine.
I have a CoCo joystick in here. Black one.
Black Beauty.
Mm-hmm.
No, have we beat this one to death?
Oh, I
did this one ever have a life? Was it stillborn? Oh, look, there's Ron's Black Beauty. So,
hey, where is Kenny's? Was it Kimner's surplus warehouse in Pennsylvania here?
Yeah.
Well, Pennsylvania's a big state.
Well, I thought maybe you might have known.
I've never heard of it, so it's. I'm guessing since I've never heard of it, it's probably over near Philly. But what do I know?
I think it's kind of the southwestern part of the state.
That's for Steve.
Yeah, it's right outside Philadelphia. No, it's in Pottstown.
Oh yeah, that's opposite side of the state.
Is that where you get your Rolling Rock beer, Steve?
How far across is Pennsylvania?
Yeah, it's
Let's
a
say
good
from Philadelphia to Pittsburgh.
I think
That's a good
Philadelphia to
drive.
Pittsburgh is at least 6 hours.
Wow.
Is
Yeah.
it? Okay.
I've done. It's been. Oh geez, it's been almost 20 years since I've done that drive, but it's not a short trip.
No.
It's a very wide state.
What's that main artery? It goes across there.
70.
The Turnpike 76.
Yeah,
Seven-
that's it.
yeah.
Hey, Jason, is your brother Ken? Is he coming to Tandy Assembly?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, they were wanting to know about that on the CoCo Crew podcast. They mentioned that Ken had his MC10 game that he would release and said he was on that other show, and then wondering if he was going to attend Tandy Assembly because you were.
Well, I'll have to check with him, but I got a room with 2 beds, so but I hadn't heard from him. He's more than welcome to.
You could set that in front of Steve.
What's that?
You got a room with 2 beds.
No, Grant's already got one too.
Yeah, Grant's got a room. They're good. I just
Grant's my designated snuggle buddy, so we're good.
Oh, jeez.
Oh,
Yeah.
So that means there's still a bed open.
Wow.
That was actually funny, Dave.
David Ladd said something funny. Oh.
Yeah, that key might be getting changed. I like you. Rock your ass out. Yeah, Jason has an extra bed, so you can stay with him.
Oh, let's not go crazy. I don't need that.
He needs a snuggle buddy.
No.
I want to watch you take your contacts in and out. Didn't that creep out, Ken?
Oh, he did not like that.
Yeah.
He didn't even see it. I was just in the bathroom going, I'm sticking my fingers in my eye. He's like, don't tell me about it. It's not a big deal. I said, you get used to it.
They do have that surgery now. You get your eye.
Yeah, it's really expensive. And I have actually consulted with that, and it was like $8,000.
Oh.
And there's this thing where you have to have somebody be able to drive you, and
designated ride home.
I don't have that.
Oh,
I don't have that support for that. At one point, I was thinking about doing that, but the other thing is, the whole thing is, it was a couple options. It's just really expensive. Plus, I don't have a driver because
it's called Uber.
No, I can't get Uber here.
So how long do you have to have somebody drive you?
Oh, I have to go. I know you have to go. Like, you have to have someone drive you up for the procedure. Then you have to drive back, have someone ride you back like the next day for a follow up. And I just don't have. I don't have that support. I had talked to my family about it, and they said no, we don't believe in that.
Hey, Chris Peterson has a question here.
They knew somebody that knew somebody that knew somebody that I guess something went wrong a long time ago, and they just so that kind of freaked them out.
Because OS 9 runs the machine.
Chris Peterson's asking, do I have any Python scripting for Minecraft? No, I do not. I don't play. The only Minecraft I know that uses Python is the one on the Raspberry Pi, and I don't mess with that one. And I don't really know Python, so I don't have any information to share with you, unfortunately, Chris, in that regards. Yeah, well, you're talking about LASIK surgery or something else?
Right, LASIK.
Yeah,
right, LASIK.
Yeah, I know a few people have gotten that. It was successful here.
Yeah, the problem that I would have with that is that because of my eyes now, LASIK would fix one of my problems, but wouldn't fix my other problem because I have bifocals. So like I need one vision to help me see far away, and now I need my bifocals to help me see up close. So if I fixed one of them, I would need to put on readers or something else too. So it's just like, when you get to a certain age, there's not a perfect solution. So
right, exactly, and that was the thing. And I consulted maybe 4 or more years ago on this, and they were already going, well, you might want to opt for what they call monovision, and they take
one
your
of
dominant eye.
One of them is over. One of them's corrected. The other one's less corrected. Right.
One is undercorrected. They take your dominant eye and they correct it for distance, and then they take your non-dominant eye, which is my left eye, and they do it for close up, but that's at best that's a compromise.
Yep.
And they said, we can simulate the same thing with contact. So
yeah, which I had that once. I had a contact solution like that I wasn't crazy about. So
and still, that was like night driving. You would need glasses for night driving because it's not good for night driving. And the way I work, I'm pretty much always driving to work in the dark. So that was just another thing. You know what? I have a great optometrist. I am very happy with the AccuView Oasis contacts. I found ones that work for me. I have an astigmatism, so that made it even harder, but they've gotten a lot better, and I'm happy with the contacts. So I'm fine with it. And I'm not crazy about eye surgery anyway. But
yeah, the problem is you've only got one pair of eyes, and if God forbid anything goes wrong.
Right. Wait a minute, my mom has an eye in the back of her head.
Don't they all?
Yes.
Good. That's a good one, Ron.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I guess at one point, like if you get cataracts, and you can do that, and I've had family members that have had that done, and one of the options you can get is like the multifocal lenses from a cataract surgery, but I don't know anyone that's ever done that.
Yeah,
well, in our family, we're Mopar lovers, so we don't have Cadillacs. We have
cataract. My favorite Bruce Springsteen song too, right? Cataracts.
I can see that Apple II again. It's not covered anymore.
Yeah. Well, we see you have an MC10 holding up your monitor behind you there, Jason. So.
Oh, that was. Oh, and I've got a old Zenith DOS laptop, and I've got a cat on my lap, and
life is good.
Well, the cat's trying to crowd me out of my computer chair. Actually.
Almost sounds like a Kenny Chesney song starting to happen here. I got my Zenith laptop in my cat in my lap. I got my toes in the sand.
I don't have any vehicles up on blocks. I haven't had woman hasn't left me. Nothing like that. So
that's the.
He hasn't married his sister.
No, I have.
The plant hasn't shut down.
Great.
Union's out on strike. He's down on his luck. It's tough.
Nobody's running moonshine,
That you know of.
David Ladd.
David Ladd.
David Ladd here. All we need is Nick Marotta for this to be a trifecta. Nick Marotta says he's still got AIDS. No, he's got a plague. So he's still sick. Okay, that's why he's not on the show. He was saying last week he was starting to feel under the weather.
What?
Nick Marotta. Remember last week Nick Marotta was saying he was not feeling good. That's why he wasn't on.
I see Ken Can Make It has made it.
Yeah, just in time for optometrist talk.
Optometrist talk after dark. All right, Ken.
After dark.
I'm going to stick my finger in my eye now.
Better than in your nose.
I mean,
Yeah, well, JC might get somebody looking at that hair loss issue too. You're losing more hair than I am.
There's not a lot I can do about that. I can't afford to join the club.
Not only am I the president, but I'm also a member.
Yeah.
Man, the candy selection, I don't know, man.
Good grief, what? I don't know what he's good. What and good grief, and I guess
I got a jawbreaker.
A jawbreaker.
Oh, now you can ask him if he wants to go to a Tandy assembly.
Hey, Ken, you going to Tandy assembly? Yeah.
Damn, Steve, are you leaving any candy left for your kids?
This is what they gave me. This was the hand-me-downs. This is the stuff they didn't want.
That wasn't actually fingers in my eye. That was simulated because this is 2D and you can't tell. But they're not actually there.
Yeah, Stevie's eating the ABC candy. Already been chewed.
Pre-chewed candy for senior citizens.
Ken Reichert.
What did your kids get away with? Like a Milky Way and a Snickers bar?
No, they gave me the Milky Ways. They didn't want Milky Ways. I got a lot of Milky Ways right in front of me.
They like those Milky Ways with nuts. Snickers.
No, they actually like plain Hershey bars with nothing in it and stuff.
Nuts.
Yeah. Ken says probably not. No Tandy assembly for Ken Reichert.
Well, I have an extra bed, like I've said before, but that's.
Well, Steve might be looking for an extra bed.
No, he's got you.
He might get kicked out.
Come on,
I don't know.
buddy.
I don't know if I can handle. I don't know if I can deal with the whole apparatus.
What
oh, there's the train.
There it is.
Engine number 9.
Coming down the Chicago line.
Wrong.
James, your train is wrong too.
Why your train is wrong.
Your train is wrong. Episode 15 of Why You Are Wrong.
You need to start laying off that candy,
Steve.
Why your train is wrong. Coming up next.
Ken Reichert says those aren't pillows.
Wrong at Christmas.
Yeah, because like you said that Ken was mentioned on the CoCo Crew podcast.
He was.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's the famous line from Trains, Planes, and Automobiles. Where are your hands? Well, they're between these two soft pillows. Those aren't pillows.
I remember that scene.
Yeah.
I think they were in Wichita at that point.
Oh, yeah.
We need Jim Carrey gagging again. So good.
Yeah,
Have
Ken.
we beat this one to death?
Yes.
Ken Reichert, you were mentioned on the CoCo Crew in your MC10 program.
And then all the wonderment if you were coming to Tandy Assembly.
Mm-hmm. Nick Murda says that's a good Thanksgiving movie, that Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Yeah.
Those aren't pillows.
Those aren't pillows.
Oh.
They don't make movies like that anymore.
But it's a good movie because it has a big old Mopar in it. There's a Plymouth.
Yeah, nice shirt there. Nice CoCoTALK shirt there, Jason.
Oh, thank you. And then I have, of course, Coco
Rocky.
Cat here. Coco Cat that won't leave me alone is crowding me in my computer chair.
He's just chilling.
Yeah, he's just hanging out, doing his thing.
Good old Rocky. He's got his human, so he's happy.
Yeah, he insists on it.
Yeah. Yeah, we are the comfort animals for our cats.
Curtis is being very quiet tonight. He's being very well behaved.
That's because I'm busy answering stuff in Discord too. So,
well, this is his busy season.
No, actually, there's pretty well over now.
There's 2 seasons. There's his busy season and his busy season.
That's kind of like Chicago construction season.
Well, it's actually his busy season, and I thought I would be out of busy season.
That's closer.
How do you tell which busy season he's in?
Just check the.
Just remember, busy season is always over next week.
I usually put season on my steak.
I thought you put it in your beard.
Yeah.
That's where he keeps it when he's not using it.
Yeah, it's a spice rack. We need some paprika.
Where did I put that paprika? A little to the left here.
Didn't you guys see me eat over at the Coco Fest?
Yeah. Yeah, remember when we were at the pizza joint, you were shaking shaking the red pepper flakes out of your beard.
Yep. Wait, those aren't flakes.
Those aren't red peppers.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
What the hell happened?
I don't know. But to the 13 people who've been watching us for 2.5 hours, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
this is now the segment where we apologize.
We're starting to apologize.
So we'd like to extend our apologies to Jim Vavasor.
Yeah, Jeff. Jeff Vavasor, yes.
Nick Marotta. Nick Marotta.
Nick Marotta.
It's all the starving children in Africa.
Mankind at large.
Yes.
Good night, everybody.
The MC10.
The 1973 Miami Dolphins.
Nick Marotta. David Ladd, Grant Leighty, and his sex change. Oh yeah, Ron said good night and he's gone. That was it. It was good night and I'm out of here. It wasn't He's a no you hang up kind of guy. He's just boom, good night. We're out of here.
Getting things done.
Press the button, Frank.
Oh, he's finished his ice cream.
Yeah, he's finished his ice cream. That's it. Rocky Road's done. The apology dump segment. Topsy says. There we go. Apology dump accepted. I need to get Nick Marotta on my soundboard somehow. We need to get that going.
You need a musical stinger like you have for David Ladd.
Yeah, Nick Marotta. Nick, work on that. Get your ukulele and get a little ditty going for us.
Nick Marotta, After Dark.
That's it. All right, we ready to push the button on this one?
Oh, I think we're past the freshness stage.
Ready to light the match and ignite the gas.
Parting thoughts, final words.
Well, it's officially tomorrow Eastern time.
It is. All right, we'll play the closing credits and we'll be back for our final thoughts and words here, and our thoughts and prayers. Oh yeah. You just witnessed another episode of Nick Marotta After Dark. Tonight we apologize for talking about ocular disorders, sex changes, petroleum-based lubricants,
and fellatio of fish burgers from McDonald's.
Fellatio of fish, viable alternatives to emulation, and so much more. Grant Leighty was here, David Ladd was here, Richard Lorbieski set himself on fire, Ron Delvaux hit the button, Frank, and James Diffendaffer was wrong. All right, and I think that about wraps it up.
I'd like to apologize to everyone except David Ladd.
Yes, we're turning Canadian now. We're sorry. We're very sorry. I'm really sorry about this episode. Really sorry.
And us Canadians are sorry. Brought to you in color.
Sorry, eh?
You're gonna be sorry about it. You gotta get
I'm very sorry about this episode. Really sorry. I'm sorry.
I like to also apologize.
Scouts on or it's spelled color.
I'm really sorry if we got a little off color tonight.
I think
we'll just end with the lumberjack song.
I thought I was sorry, but I was wrong.
We're no longer off color. We're in a totally different spectrum at this point.
Oh,
you're beyond the dumpster fire.
Or plaid.
We've gone from
the towering inferno.
We are so far off color, we have left the visual spectrum.
That's it. We've gone to plaid.
Sports Earth syndrome.
Oh my God! And Nick Marotta says fellatio of fish is a keeper.
We'd like to thank our sponsor, McDonald's.
Yeah, McDougal's, where they offer the fellatio of fish.
McDiddlers and the fellatio of fish.
You can supersize the bone.
Receiving cease and desist order.
We promise our fish are not bone free.
I thought we were done now.
Oh,
are we still on?
You hang up. No, you hang up.
No, you hang up.
Let me say goodbye for the next 15 minutes.
You guys are killing me, literally.
Only 15? I thought it was going to be more like 20 minutes. Just go ahead and start Columboing us.
Yeah. Jason
one
Downs,
more thing.
Yeah, says, thanks for the last night, guys. Roger says, no worries. The conversation served as a nice background sounder while working on my CoCo 3. There you go.
CoCoTALK.
Viable alternative.
Tonight's
a viable alternative to a white noise machine.
Yes, tonight's episode was a viable alternative to setting yourself on fire.
A viable alternative to intelligent conversation.
CoCoTALK, we have no lower standards.
A viable alternative to standards.
I thought you can find a show with lower standards than ours.
Your pizza's free.
Yeah.
Standards? We don't need no stinking standards.
No.
If you can
the only standard is
lower standards. You can watch it.
Woo. we don't have to have a show tomorrow. We're done. We've said it all. We've done it all.
The show with a plan that's no plan.
That's it. We do not need a show tomorrow.
Show about nothing.
Tomorrow's show's been canceled, folks.
Just run this. Yeah.
We'll put this on a loop.
Except for the assembly language segment.
Why don't we just run the rabbit cartoon again?
Yeah.
It's a viable alternative to streaming a real show.
Yeah, this is a viable alternative to a rabbit cartoon.
Yeah, I was wondering. So what the hell? I was on vacation, and I thought I'd just tune in for a couple minutes. So what the hell is this rabbit thing?
Yeah.
It's the CoCoTALK rabbit.
Nick Rhoda says, if you find a show of lower standards, we'll beat them.
We'll beat them by at least 10%.
That's right.
Challenge accepted.
We'll beat any written low standard estimate.
I thought our standards couldn't get any worse, but I was wrong.
That's it. Yes,
It's
James.
a race to the bottom.
We lower the standards and pass the savings on to you.
Next week on CoCoTALK is man boob reduction.
That's going to be like a 5-hour special.
Yeah, we have some volunteers from the audience.
Oh, Christ. That's your stripper episode right there. So,
Boobectomies for free, searching for volunteers.
David's combing all the McDonald's locations right now.
Yeah. Here's our closing soundbite. Here's the
Maybe David and I should do instead of McDonald's, we should go to Walmart so we can show the Walmart people.
Yeah, right? Do some shopping for some boxer shorts or something.
Stevie, you are so getting a cease and desist from McDonald's.
Did somebody say McDonald's?
McDonald's, home of the fellatio of fish.
Are you sure?
I believe this is satire.
Are you sure it's not Burger King? I mean, they say you can have it your way.
Yeah. I think Burger King's got the whaler, don't they?
The whaler.
That just doesn't sound appealing to me. The whale,
but it sounds less appealing than fellatio of fish.
but it's a viable alternative.
Tonight's episode has been a viable alternative to fish fellatio.
A viable opportunity of watching something reasonable.
The viable alternative to doing something useful.
Yes, that's it. Doing something useful.
Viable alternative to breathing in and out.
Viable alternative to having standards.
Yes.
Yeah. Then this is why we can't let Stevie have beer and candy at the same time.
Not at all.
Sugar taking him up. The alcohol's bringing him down.
I haven't laughed so hard that my face hurted in a long time. This is good.
That just might be to all the tremors from your sugar high. I'm not sure.
That means it's working.
And my dad would always say to me, "Does your face hurt?" I'd say, "No." He goes, "Well, it's killing me." So.
This was such a good show that this is how we're ending on a high point.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I'm in Canada. That could be literally true.
Yeah. Leave them wanting more.
That's
what
they really want more.
We're doing something wrong.
I have no idea.
David Ladd, final word.
Good night, everyone.
That's 2 words.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing this show to a screeching halt, David.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr.
David Ladd would qualify. Any final words, David?
Go play with your floppy. Gee.
Hey, there's another train. Greg, final word.
Don't forget to vote this week.
All right. For Glenside, right? Richard Lorbieski, final word.
Dumpster fire.
Or gasoline.
Mark Overholzer, final word.
We're going to do this again tomorrow. Please be there.
All right. Jason Reichert.
Burma shave.
Burma shave. L. Curtis Boyle.
Final word. That was it.
That's it.
All right. And James Different Dafford, whatever it's going to be, it's wrong anyways. But what's your final word?
Fellatio fish.
All right. We're pressing the button, Frank.
I dare you to name this episode that.
Fellatio fish.
Tapioca.
Tapioca. There's the train. All right, guys. I want to wish you all a very good night from
David Ladd.
All right, and we'll see you tomorrow. Same channel, 2 p.m. Florida time. Peace out, everybody. Nick Marotta.